Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Bianca, and I am here to discuss a little bit about Alex Murdaugh. Hopefully, this is the last video we're going to do about him. This is the cross examination on the second day, and we're going to discuss his mannerisms, his body language, and whether we think that Alex is a psychopath or not. And psychopathy is not a mental disease that is recognized by the DSM. However, the closest recognized disorder is the antisocial behavior. So, we're going to look at the definition of psychopathy. Psychopathy is a neuropsychiatric disorder marked by deficient emotional responses, lack of empathy, and poor behavior controls, commonly resulting in persistent antisocial deviance and criminal behavior. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with that except for meeting one person who I believe um, could be diagnosed as that. And I am not here to diagnose anybody, but after having that, as the book that I read called Psychopath Free, it says after you have encountered a psychopath, your life will never be the same. And it really gives people a guide. First, it gives a definition and it helps you to understand your current situation. In my case, it was a relationship, and it helped me to understand that I was involved with a toxic person, even though I was mostly confused all the time and I felt drained and I didn't understand what was going on. So, because of that person, I ended up finding this book called Psychopath Free, which is an amazing book. And it helped me to, in my understanding, think of this person as having a disorder called narcissistic personality disorder, which is a form of psychopathy, but it's not really the same thing as being a narcissist as we think, because most of the times when we think about narcissism, we think about somebody who is conceited, who thinks of themselves all the time. And that is not a disorder. That is just a trait that everybody has in different degrees. Now, the personality disorder is something else, and it has several traits, and it really has the lack of empathy that a psychopath would have, the antisocial, the manipulation, the gaslighting, all of those traits that makes a person have that definition. Usually, the person requires a lot of attention, admiration. They love to be praised. They really have superficial relationships. They are master manipulators. They are master in gaslighting, making you think that you're the person who doesn't understand reality because you keep questioning yourself and reality. And also, they are master as something else called word salad. Word salad, when somebody asks you a question and they just go on this story over and over and they just talk, 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 and don't say nothing. So that is a term called word salad. You get out of that conversation knowing less than what you got into the conversation with, although they just talked for a long time. And I feel like I'm doing that right now. But the reason why I say all this is to say this is why I came up with this video with the Is Alex a Psychopath title, because I do believe he does have some of those traits. Just for example, I'm going to read and I'm going to share this screen here so that everybody can see what I'm reading. And this is from that book that I just mentioned called Psychopath Free. I think the name of the author is Jackson Mackenzie. And yes, that's his name, Jackson Mackenzie. And he really is great at showing some of the red flags that people can notice if that person, that has been hurting you or that has been manipulating you, displays those red flags. That way, that each person can diagnose their situation accordingly. So, as far as Alex go, I'm going to go to this number. Um, it is about lying, and I want to find it here, but I did highlight a little bit of everything. So I'll just go over the bold things are what I highlighted as far as what I could see Alex doing when he took the stand. And we're going to go through the stand in a minute. So, for example, gaslighting. Gaslighting is a term from an old movie because where the husband used to tell the wife that she forgot the gaslight or something, and she knew she turned it off, and she would like think she's crazy and could start to question her own reality. So that term of crazy making or gaslighting comes from that old movie. So for me, when I think of Alex Murdaugh, I think of they deny their own reality, and when they are confronted by it, they just, they keep going on, and you start questioning, is this for real, or what's going on here? Which I do believe that maybe his family members that even have come out now that we are after the verdict and everything. His brother came out and said, I think he knows more, and I don't think he's telling us the whole truth. But for you to be a family member of somebody who has been convicted of double murder, um, it must feel like, you are questioning your own reality. How can this be? This person has always been such a loving family member, which is what his brother said about him. So that to me does remind me a lot of Alex, the gaslighting, the manipulative behavior. Now, number two, they cannot put themselves in your shoes or anyone else's for that matter. The reason why I think of Alex when I read this is that it reminds me of all the people that he stole money from, and the people who were victim of horrible tragedies. Their families, either got hurt and they really needed the money, or they lost a parent, lost somebody, and they leaned on Alex to help them in the civil courts, and he took all their money. So when I think about someone who cannot put themselves in anybody else's shoes and only thinks about themselves, that is something that I think about, that I think that Alex fits very well into. So the next one, they have extremely high expectations for fidelity, for respect and adoration. Usually psychopaths or people with narcissistic personality disorder, which again, I will emphasize is not the same as having a narcissistic trait that everybody does have in some degrees, but somebody who has a disorder, they will have the lack of empathy, they have the inability to change, and they have all these factors that we're discussing. So they have the high expectation for respect and adoration, and they do value status, and they do value having like a group of people around them all the time, having a certain position of power. And this reminds me of the way that Creighton Waters, the prosecutor, was questioning him when he was cross-examining him, and he made sure to point that out to Alex, saying, this is important to you, right? Your family is recognized. This is important to you, right? You're very powerful. You are somebody who has, you're prominent. Your family is prominent. That's how you're known for. And Alex is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what prominent means. I don't know in which way you mean. But this is a way that Creighton Waters was pointing that out, right? This is who you are. You like power, you like prominence, you like prestige, you like to have control over people. And here on number 3, right, where I have it bold, it says they have extremely high expectations for fidelity, respect, and adoration. They will cheat, lie, criticize, and manipulate. And, in case of a relationship, or it doesn't even have to be romantic per se, but you're expected to remain perfect. Otherwise, you will promptly be replaced. Now, this is where I was trying to find in the beginning, number 4, which is the pathological lying and excuses. There is always an excuse for everything, even things that don't require excusing. They make up lies faster than you can question them. They constantly blame others. It is never their fault. They spend more time rationalizing their behavior than improving. Even when they're caught in a lie, they express no remorse or embarrassment. Oftentimes, it's almost as if they wanted you to catch them. Now, we're probably going to go back and forth on this one because this is where I think Alex falls into the most during the cross examination that we could observe him in. And it's just like sometimes you don't have to lie, and he lies anyways. Or sometimes he's caught in a lie, but he's like, wait, that's not exactly what you asked me. You asked me like this way, and that's not exactly the answer. That's, in a way that like we all understand the question. We all understand what you're doing also. So you're not that smart for doing all this. And this is, a situation where you lie just because you're a pathological liar. You don't have the need to lie. Like you're not it's not something that you're getting away with. You're just pathological about it, and you just can't help yourself because it's just the way things have always been, right? You make up lies faster than anybody can question, and even you believe it, right? When you are a manipulator like this. So we're going to start watching the cross examination, and we might stop at different places just to see, what we can observe from his body language and everything. And we'll get back to the cross examination. So let's get this party started here.
Thank you. Good morning. Day number 24.
Here we go.
Cross-examination. You may proceed.
May it please the court. Good morning, Mr. Murdaugh.
Good morning, Mr. Waters.
All right, let's see if we can move forward with this a little bit. See if we can go back to some things we may be able to agree on.
All right, sir.
All right. First thing is that the money you were stealing, in addition to your income and the money you were borrowing, was not just to pay for drugs. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
All right. And would you agree that your stealing, in addition to the money you were borrowing, increased over the years as we moved towards June of 2021?
Repeat that, please, sir.
Sure. Would you agree that your stealing increased?
I'm going to make this a little bit faster. I'm going to try to do like 1.5 or 1.2 to see how, if it's still bearable. I don't really like it when people do that, but just otherwise we're going to spend 4 hours doing the cross. And another thing, I just want to point out that this is the second day that Alex took the stand. I have a video from the first day, and we watched the whole cross examination. It's under the videos. I think it's called is Alex a Psychopath as well. I'll link it here in the description. But I just want to point out that as soon as Alex comes in the second day in the morning, he is starting differently. He's saying, yes, sir. Because yesterday or the day before, when he was crossed by the first time, he just disagreed with everything. Creighton Waters, he was argumentative the whole time. And he was like, I don't understand, or this. So now he's coming in a little bit more humble in a way. Maybe somebody told him, listen, stop arguing about every single question. And he's saying, yes, sir, in the first question. The second question, I don't understand. Can you please repeat that? That's fine. So let's keep going.
Increased over the years as we move towards June of 2021?
Yes, sir.
And would you admit that your stealing increased in particular after the boat wreck?
No, sir, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
I think I continued to do it, but I don't, as I sit here today, I don't think I took more money that I should not have taken after the boat wreck than I did before the boat wreck.
Okay.
But again, those documents speak for themselves, Mr. Waters, and if that's the case, then that's the case. But as we sit here, I think that I probably wrongly took from clients and people that trusted me as much money before that boat wreck as after.
All right.
It's
I'm just trying to get through this so we don't get bogged down like we did yesterday. All right.
I understand.
All right. So you wouldn't agree with me that in 2019 alone you stole about $3.7 million?
No, I think that's correct.
All right. And would you agree with me though that figure in 2019 was generally higher than any other year that you've been stealing since 2011?
In any year, sure, I'd agree with that.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about overall the whole cycle. But yeah, I would agree that in 2019 I stole more money than any
That's
other
an
year.
example. I thought you were
Would you
doing
agree
this,
with me that
but
from
you're doing
2015
this.
on, your legitimate income, while still very strong, was diminishing as a general matter?
Well, I think whatever my income is speaks for itself. But as a general rule, a plaintiff's lawyer doing what we do, income ebbs and flows. You have some really good years, you have some really lean years. And no, I think I had some good years. Maybe not the, $4 and $5 million years, but I think I had some $2 and $3 million years in there. And my caseload was such that, I had one of the things I was working on that Monday was one of the biggest cases that I've ever been involved in.
Talking about the Dominion case, right?
Yes, sir. And so, I think it was cyclical. So I don't, without looking at the record specifically, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay. So you don't remember then?
No, I do remember. I don't think I agree with that. But again, those records will speak for themselves.
Okay. All right. So would you agree with me then?
One thing that I do like to notice when we are watching these things is the body language also of the people in the gallery, the people that are here waiting, just watching this trial day after day. Like this guy, he's a reporter, and just the body language of the thing as a human being, besides being the reporter. Like, again, Alex is gonna go on and on in this word salad manner of going in circles. Wait, did you mean that did you say overall or year by year? Because I don't agree that I was spending more money or that I was making less money. You mean overall? Sure, I agree with that. Like that whole circle that just happened, people in the back go like, like it's annoying, So I just think it's interesting to notice the gallery as well.
In 2014, your reported income was over $1 million.
Objections overruled.
Reported income, like tax-wise, or reported? I assume you have a document that says that. And if you're reading that from a document,
tax-wise, how else do we report income? You know what I mean? Like that is annoying. That is annoying. And I think that the jurors and the people in the gallery, they start to notice. And it's annoying. Like you look at his face right now, like he's trying to be, like his face is almost like a challenger, right? He's challenging him in the questions and trying to be a smart ass, trying to be smarter than the person questioning him. And look at the people in the back. They have little smirks. This lady has a smirk. This lady has like almost a surprised look. Like, oh my gosh, like in my opinion, thinking he's argumentative. He keeps going in circles. And even to this question, a simple question of a reported income. What do you mean reported? Like to the IRS? Of course. Yes, that's how we report income.
I don't dispute it.
I mean, I'm happy to show it to you, ladies.
I trust you, Mr. Waters. So
I trust you,
All right, 2015.
liar.
Would you agree that your reported income was over $2 million?
again, I don't dispute that.
All right. 2016 reported income $900,000.
Okay.
2017 reported income $218,000.
Okay.
2018 reported income of $749,000 roughly,
Okay.
and 2019 reported income of $655,000.
Okay. And see that I mean, to me, that demonstrates exactly what I'm talking about, how it goes up and down.
And would you agree with me that though, during those periods of time where you were making that kind of money, you continue to steal? And I think you've already said that your stealing increased as we move through those years as a general matter.
Absolutely. I don't dispute, and I have never disputed since I was confronted on Labor Day weekend,
Right.
that I took money from my clients.
We've gone through that. And
Well, but you keep asking me
I'm
about
asking you
that.
if your income.
You can finish your answer.
So the point is I have never, since being confronted that day, my brother and my partner came to talk to me, that I have stolen money that did not belong to me, that I misled people to do it, people that I cared about, still care about, a lot of them that I love and still love.
Mm-mm.
And I misled them to do it. And I was wrong. I have never disputed that from day one.
And we've been through that. All I'm trying to establish
Watch
right
the
now,
people.
Mr. Murdaugh,
Watch their
is
faces
as we
in the
move towards June of
gallery.
2021, what your financial condition was like. Okay, I agree. You've testified to that multiple times. All right.
Like, this is not a good answer for him because he is testifying about how much he loved Maggie and Paul, and he's saying that he loved his clients as well, even though he took millions of dollars from his clients that were paraplegic or have lost their mothers, and it's just not a good answer for him.
So let me ask you this. During this time that your income was what we just went through, and you conceded that your stealing was increasing, were you also borrowing significant amount of money from Palmetto State Bank?
Yes, I'd always borrowed significant amount of money from Palmetto State Bank, or for more than the last decade. So yes, sir, I agree with that.
As we move to June of 2021, did you have $1 million line of credit with the bank that was pretty much maxed out? Yes or no? As we move to June of 2021.
So in June of 21,
Sure.
yes,
All right. And did you also have a $600,000 line of credit that was pretty much maxed out around that time?
I did.
And did you also, over the years, repeatedly borrow six figures from your law partners?
Well, I borrowed money from a law partner,
Which one?
Johnny Parker.
Johnny Parker. Okay. And that was fairly common.
Okay, just real quick, I'm gonna pause here to point out that Alex is displaying a body language thing called like a predator stare. So it's like the predator looking at the prey, and he just keeps like following Creighton wherever he goes, like very closely. So just pointing that out.
Occurrence over the years. It happened multiple times. Would you agree with that?
I agree that it happened multiple times.
All right. And you would agree also that you would sometimes use some of the stolen money to pay that back.
I won't dispute that. I don't know that that's the case. I know what I saw Mr. Bernie testify to in using that particular accounting method. You know, I see that.
Right.
So I don't dispute that.
All right. And would you agree that you also, when you needed money, occasionally borrow as much as 5 and 6 figures from your father, Mr. Randall?
I did.
And would you also agree that over the years, particularly as we move to June of 2021, you would use stolen money to pay that back?
I don't dispute that, if that's what the record shows.
All right. And you just mentioned here in the testimony of Carson Burney and the banker and all that, you would agree with me that as we move to June of 2021, at least in liquid funds, you were running out of money.
In liquid funds, is in money on hand or money that I could get?
Money that you could, liquid funds. You're a lawyer, you know what liquid means. Where are you
Well,
running out
I don't know what you mean by liquid, Mr. Waters. And so,
money you could readily access, assets that you could readily access to pay your ever increasing debts.
no, sir, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
I do not agree with that. And I'll tell you why.
All right.
So are we talking about June?
I'm talking about as we move to June.
Okay, but what time period are you talking
All right,
about?
let's talk about January to June.
Okay, January to June. January to June, you know, I could borrow money from my father. I could borrow money from Johnny Parker. I could go to the bank and borrow money. I had substantial equity in the Edisto house, as we talked about.
Which was in Maggie's name, correct?
Well, it was in Maggie and my name.
All right.
So, you know, that definitely was in both of our names. Moselle was in Maggie's name. There's substantial equity in that could have been borrowed against. So under the terms as you defined liquid assets just now, money that I would have access to, I disagree with on that for those reasons that I just said.
Can we at least agree that generally
Well, liquid funds, when I think about liquid funds, it would be either cash available in a checking account or a savings account, or cash in the house, like liquid funds to me is cash. Now, liquidated funds or funds that I am able to liquidate could be like a 401k, could be stocks, could be property, equity, and property through a refinance, or maybe just a line of credit on the equity. So to me, it's not the same thing. Like liquid funds is cash to me.
The way the compensation is structured for legitimate money that you earn in your law firm, the vast majority of your compensation does not come except in one lump sum in December. Can we agree to that?
Right. We get a salary. We would receive a salary. I believe our salary was $125,000.
Right.
And then the income that was earned would be paid in the form of a bonus at the year end.
All right. And then would you agree with me that that is why you stole the Ferris fees in March of 2021, because you were in desperate need of funds and you could not wait till December to access those funds?
I think there's probably a lot of reasons why I stole those funds, but I certainly would believe or don't dispute that that's one of the reasons.
And would you agree with me that the $792,000 that you stole of those Ferris funds, that you exhausted those within about 2 months?
I don't know the time period, but I know that I exhausted them.
Now, again, I'm trying to get through this quickly because there's a lot more to talk about, obviously. But we went through a number of questions yesterday about the various clients that you stole from, correct? You remember that? The back and forth we had yesterday, do you remember all that?
Sure I did.
Okay. All right. And so I'm going to try to shortchange this, but I think it's important that we at least
The predator stare.
say the names of the people that were involved. But let's just do this to see if we can.
To the comment, Your Honor, inappropriate.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
Rephrase, Creighton.
The clients that we're talking about, these are all real people, yes or no?
They're all real people.
All right.
They're
And
all
these
good
clients-
people.
Okay.
They're all people that I care about, that I cared about then. And a lot of them are people that I love,
Okay.
and I did wrong by them.
Yes. You
That-
heard the people that you love, I know.
That is
So-
not helping. See, you hurt people that you love. Objection to the comment.
Sustained.
These were all people, every single one of them, that you at least had a personal conversation with at some point during the course of your representation.
All of my
About the
clients,
representation.
absolutely. I had multiple conversations with all of my clients.
And these were people, every single one of them, real people that you looked in the eye and convinced them that everything was right.
Your Honor, 403, repetitive, cumulative.
They looked in
Spent
the
2 hours doing
eye
this yesterday.
again.
But simple questions that applies to everybody, and then I'm moving on.
Proceed.
I would have had conversations with all of my clients, and at some of the conversations would have been on the telephone. I would have had conversations where I might not be looking them in the eye. I would have had plenty of conversations where I did look them in the eye.
See, we all get the point. Like, do you look at people in the eye and lie to them? Like your ability to look at people in the eye and lie to them. And Alex just takes that and says, I don't know if I talked to them over the phone or if I was talking to them, looking at them in the eye, or it was an email. So it's kind of like pretending to be stupid. And I don't think that goes well with most people. And it definitely didn't go well with the jury. As we can see, he was convicted and people didn't believe his testimony that we're watching now with the benefit of hindsight, right? So, but look at his predator stare. Like he just focused. He has that laser focused eye on the prosecutor. And it's almost like a challenge to him the whole time.
Is that fair?
Sure.
Every single one of them, you looked them in the eye and developed their trust. in you.
Again.
Every client that I had, at some point, I looked them in the eye, and I believe that I had the trust of my clients. Whether that came from me looking them in the eye or not, I can't answer that, but I will agree with you that every single client, I looked them in the eye, and I believe that the people that I stole money from for all those years trusted me.
I'm going to tell you what's been previously admitted. It states 329, I believe it is, and 314. I'm just going to ask you to peruse those spreadsheets really quickly. And what you have to do that, let me know. I have one or two questions about that.
We're on like two speed,
Like,
two
I'm sorry, what was your
times.
question?
I just asked you to look at them. You got a chance to review the documents?
I have.
All right. And would you agree with me that every single name
No, I
on
don't
here
agree with you. Nothing.
are either clients that trusted you that you stole from, or instances in which you stole from your law partners who trusted you as well.
I agree with that.
All right, so we don't need to go through each one of these, right? Agree.
Mr. Waters, like I've told you, I'll go through whatever you want to go through, but each one of those clients is just what we've already talked about. Good people, fine people, upstanding people. They trusted me. Every single one of them I did, and I do still care about. And many of them I love and consider them close friends.
Like Barrett Bowler,
Absolutely. It's a perfect example.
and you stole from Barrett Bowler.
I did.
You recall a conversation that you had with Ronnie Crosby in which he told you that Barrett was desperate for money because he needed his wife to stay in a hotel near him while he was undergoing treatment for terminal cancer around the time that you stole from him.
There you go.
Objections overruled.
I don't recall that conversation, but I knew Barrett was sick. But, Barrett is a unique situation. I mean, Barrett is and was dear to me as a friend. But I mean, Barrett and I had a long history. I guess really, and I lied probably more by omission, lies by omission, and stealing that money. But that's a perfect example. You keep asking about me having these conversations and looking people in the eye. I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, when I stole that money, he was nowhere around. It was more based on lies by omission.
He was not around.
And Barrett and
I
I
didn't
had
look
such a
in his
history.
eye.
These real estate deals that you're asking me about, Barrett was one of my good friends, and we've been in these real estate deals.
It was
Barrett
on the
just an
phone.
Interesting person. He was a shrimper. Was born and raised in Allendale County, and he moved down to the coast. And
Murdaugh.
as shrimping,
Ms. Murdaugh, I don't know that we need Barrett's entire life story.
no, but it's important to understand this based on the question you asked.
I don't think his entire life story is responsible, Your Honor.
And I'm not intending to give his life story. I'm just telling you a little background.
Go ahead,
so
tell
you
us about your
understand.
friend that you stole from.
So Barrett,
Okay, now this Creighton Waters body language and demeanor is just like, notice how here Creighton asks him a question, Alex is answering, and then Creighton's like, I don't want to know his life story, and he's looking at him like this, like facing him, like with the hand like this, like, go ahead, lie to me, tell me your sorrows, tell me your woes, your story, blah blah blah, tell me, like, I don't care. That's Creighton Waters body language to me. And then as Creighton says, okay, fine, tell me your story, he just walks away and he turns his back to Alex, which, if Alex is a psychopath and and has the narcissistic personality disorder, that is a stab to his ego, and that really, really bothers him. Like, it would probably cause anger, because the psychopath, or the person with the narcissism, the NPD, narcissistic personality disorder for short, they don't have a lot of feelings, and they're incapable of having empathy and different emotions that we all experience. But one thing they do have is anger, lust, ego. They have those. They are capable of feeling those. So for somebody to ask you a question, for you to walk away, it's like it must piss Alex off. So let's see what his face looks like now that Creighton turned his back. And then let me just go back to normal just to see if Alex is going to change at all in his demeanor after Creighton turns his back.
started getting into real estate, and he was really
And
good
Creighton's
at it.
like,
And so I started getting involved
Which
with
is
him in
so
that. He could go
inappropriate,
out
by
and
the way.
Find pieces of property that were really cheap, get them and sell them and make money. Well, we got in some of these
So Alex
deals,
just starts talking to the
and
jury, and
got in
Creighton must be
Barrett
like,
and
okay,
some
let me
other
not
people. Well,
let this
when the
master
recession hit-
manipulator manipulate the jury, right?
one of the reasons these land deals caused me trouble is because the people that I was in these deals with no longer could pay. Whereas I might have gone in and I was a 20% person, I'm now all of a sudden, either I have to default at the bank and affect credit, affect the ability to borrow, or I have to pay 100%. And so that's what I did. I paid 100%. And so there were years where I was paying, instead of a fifth or a half, I'm paying the whole thing. And it equated to it equated to millions of dollars, which is one of the ways why I ended up with the Moselle property, because I had paid
Look at Creighton
more than $1
putting
million.
his head down, and again, just showing complete disinterest for Alex's answers, and just showing complete disrespect and disregard.
In monies for Barrett, and that was part of the deal in the trade in me purchasing Moselle.
So what you're telling me is you felt like you were entitled to steal from him.
No. You know what? I will tell you this, that, you know, when you're doing the things wrong that I was doing, you have all kind of ways of justifying it.
Word
And
salad.
I'm not saying that
Let's
makes
go
it right by any means.
in
'Cause it's not. It's
circles,
wrong.
in
I've said that 100
circles,
times.
in
But when I was
circles.
doing it, and I was,
Because although I do not like Creighton Waters' approach and his whole demeanor, I don't like it. And I think they got away with a lot and the judge allowed a lot in. And I don't agree with the way, you know, the way that it happens. Like, although I don't agree with the way the prosecution presented the case and the things that the judge allowed them to do, and the way that the judge was very dismissive to the defense team and everything, this is very effective because Creighton is like, so you're saying you felt entitled to, and that's the truth, because that's what Alex is saying. I got into this real estate deal and I was in, like, pretty much, you know, I lost all the money, even though I was only 20% responsible for it. So I felt entitled to. That's what he is saying, even though he's now going to ramble and do the whole word salad. But that is what Creighton here catches very quickly.
as addicted as I was and the things I was doing, there's all kind of things that you know, to be able to look yourself in the mirror, you lie to yourself.
Yes, he looks at his
And
phone. Okay.
I guess self-justification for these bad things, I guess is what I was doing. But, Barrett had owed me so much money that when I took his money,
The defense is
I just
biting
didn't tell
their
him. So it
fingers.
was
Like,
a lie
oh my
by omission.
God, we're in so much trouble here. The more he
All these
talks,
people
the more we're in trouble.
on these two exhibits, these are real people that needed this money. Is that correct?
I'm sure they did.
But it was more important to you that you stole their money on top of the 40% of legal fees that you were taking. I've never asked that question.
I stole their money.
It was more important to you than their needs. Is that correct?
Objection.
Objections overruled.
I don't remember sitting down and calculating, okay, is this more important? One of the self-justifications that
See, again, word salad, because the fact is that, yes, what is the right answer? At least to give the jury a little bit of honesty, it would be, yes, I was selfish and I felt like, I put my needs above everybody else's needs. I am selfish and I have a drug problem and I am working on the drug problem. That would be the appropriate answer, right? So let me just go to this tab real quick. This is, again, the book called Psychopath Free. And these are the 50, I believe, or 30 red flags to spot a person that is toxic. So selfishness and a crippling thirst for attention, they drain the energy from you and consume your entire life. Their demand for adoration is insatiable. You thought you were the only one who can make them happy in this case of a relationship, but anybody with a beating pulse could fit the role. However, the truth is no one can fill the void of a psychopath's soul. But the selfishness is the most important thing, and the inability to put themselves in anybody's shoes, right? You find yourself desperately trying to explain how they might feel if you were treating them that way, and they just stare at you blankly. So you slowly learn to not even communicate. So because they're usually mad, your feelings are usually met with silence and annoyance. So here in this example, Creighton is asking him, so you felt like your needs were more important than everybody else's. And he's like, no, well, I never sat down and I measured my needs versus, and look at Jim's face here. Jim is just like biting his lips the whole time, and just, because it's such a dishonest answer. And it would serve Alex a lot more if he would take responsibility for his mistakes in a way that was more sincere, not just repeating over and over, I stole people's money. I shouldn't have done it. They needed the money. I stole, and blah, 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 and over and over and over. Instead of saying things like this, I never sat down and I measured how more important it was for me or that. It would just be, again, right? I'm selfish. That's what I did. And I can't explain it. There is no good explanation here.
that I talked about, Mr. Waters, is, and this is one of the things, again, I want to make it clear. I don't, as I sit here today, I do not believe that any of this justifications that I'm talking about made any of this okay, because I don't. I've owned up to all this money I stole. I've tried to since I was confronted, and I continue here today. But one of the justifications at the time when I was taking pills and doing the things I was doing was, I may ask a partner, okay, how much is this case worth? And if one of my partners, and I may not even give them all the real facts, okay? So if they said this case is worth $100,000, okay, and I go out and I get them $300,000, that's one of the stupid little things. Okay, well, this isn't the same. And that's one of those justifications that I used in looking back on this.
Look
I don't know
at
how I did.
Creighton is just like looking so annoyed and like, okay, let me rest here on this podium and let your BS just run rampant.
But so to sit down and say, did I evaluate that they needed the money more than I did? I don't think I did that. I think I was selfish, and I think I just took the money.
There you go. I was selfish. There you go. No need for this whole circle of
I asked you a series
explanations.
of questions yesterday about at least relating one conversation you had with one of these clients. And I'm just going to ask you this one. Do you remember looking Tony Satterfield in the eye and lying to him?
I remember lying to Tony Satterfield, and I remember looking him in the eye on many occasions.
And lying to him?
Yeah.
Lying to his family?
I lied to his family. I don't know if I did it in person, but I know I had phone conversations with him where I lied to him.
Let's talk a little bit about the pills, if we can.
Okay.
And you've already testified, as have other people, that you were still able to function as a lawyer over the years despite the pills that you were using. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Okay, so real quick, the moving of the microphone, right? That he's adjusting, Alex is adjusting a microphone. In the body language world, that is called like an adapter. An adapter is when you touch something or you move something or you change your body, your posture a little bit, and there is no need for that. Like in his case, I know I was moving my microphone earlier, but it was because the sound was messed up. But in his case, everybody can hear him. The sound has been fine the whole time. But when it's a sign of being uncomfortable with something. So when Creighton says, let's talk about the drugs, he adjusts like, okay. Like he has that adjustment on the microphone. So that's called an adapter. And then again, the way Creighton talks to Alex is if Alex is a despicable human being, if we can say that, and he doesn't even deserve his full attention because he asks him something and he turns his back. It's a sign of disrespect, and it would definitely pierce the ego of somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial behavior, which is what we usually connect to psychopathy here.
you were able, of course, during this period of time to engage.
And you can see in Alex's face that he doesn't look happy, right? His eyes say a lot. If you can consider that two black pits of soulless anger is what I see. I don't know. I'm not here making a diagnosis or anything. I don't even know if he actually committed these crimes, but just the anger. Like if I take my hand and I cover his, like the nose and the mouth part, and I just focus on his eyes, I feel anger from his eyes.
And these relatively complicated thefts that increased over the years that we've just talked about, despite the pill usage. Is that correct?
I was. I was.
All right. And you were also able to, during this time period, convince your staff that nothing was amiss with all of these exhibits, despite your pill usage.
I mean, most of those didn't require convincing my staff, but just so we're on the same page again, I acknowledge that I certainly allowed them to be misled. I certainly allowed them to do things that I shouldn't have done on my behalf, knowing that they trusted me.
Watch Creighton's face.
How many pills were you using a day?
Depends on a number of items. Most importantly, how strong the pill was.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, let's say start maybe in January of 2021 and move forward. Can you describe to the jury what your daily pill intake was like?
I think at that time, most of what I was purchasing was 30 milligram pills, instant release, oxycodone, that probably mixed in with some OxyContin, which is made of oxycodone. It's just time release. I would have been taking
Come on, Alex.
anywhere from
How many?
1,500 milligrams maybe to maybe a thousand or maybe 1,000 milligrams or 1,200 milligrams on a day I didn't take as much or didn't have as much, up to, I mean, there are days, many days, a lot of days, most days were more than that, and many days would be, more than 2,000 milligrams a day.
And how many pills is that?
It depends on the
The
strength.
of the pill.
Say it's the
Of the
30s that you just mentioned.
If I took 30, if I had 30 milligram pills, you figure 100 pills would be 3,000 milligrams.
Okay, let me just take a quick stop here about the pill intake, because I don't have a lot of knowledge about, addiction of oxycodone and oxycodone, from my understanding, usually is the medical pill that you start taking maybe after a surgery or to help with pain relief. And a lot of people get addicted to the pills. Hydrocodone, which is commonly known as Vicodin, is also in the same family, and it provides the person with pain relief when they are in pain. I don't know what exactly is the high that people would get from that. If it's like a high, like a cocaine would provide, that makes people alert and work more and be more productive, or if it would be kind of like a low, that's what I would think it would provide, like, because it's a muscle relief or whatever, pain relief. So I would think it would make the person go, like on a low vibe. But when he testifies about how much he's taking every day during this period, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, he would have been dead. He would have been dead. And I did see somebody, I think it was a doctor, talk about the amount that he takes and say that it's not unusual. Not that it's not unusual. It's not impossible. That was the word. It's not impossible, because usually people that start with a pain pill, like, oxycodone, they go to heroin sometimes because they can't afford the habit. And also because they don't have all the prescriptions, right? And then they end up getting mixed up with fentanyl and all the things that are unfortunately in all of the drugs today. So nothing is safe anymore. Back when I was in high school, people used to smoke weed and do all that kind of stuff. And nowadays, even that type of drug has the danger of having fentanyl, which is a deadly drug. And usually people end up doing that. Now, because Alex has so much money, this doctor was saying that he would be able to have that dosage if it was just a pure pill of oxycodone. And like, for example, some pills, I don't know about oxycodone, but I know that there are other pills like gabapentin, for example, that a 1200 milligram dosage is not deadly. It's not unusual. It's something that you can safely take. So I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Kathy is saying here that it could cause the person to be euphoric, right? Euphoric. And also that it would have damaged his liver if it was a 20-year addiction. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think that makes more sense to me than him not being able to take it at all. Some people were saying, oh, if he took that many pills, he would be dead. So that would make more sense, because with the amount of years that he says that he has this addiction, which God only knows if he's telling the truth or not about the addiction, it doesn't make sense that he would be able to keep it up. But usually addiction also is progressive, right? People don't start at this many pills a day. So could it be that maybe it's a mixture of truth and lie? And I think that could be, maybe he did dabble into that, but maybe the money and the drugs and all of that is a front for something else. Some people say money laundering, which makes more sense than him just ingesting all that on a daily basis and then going to work. So with that being said, let's keep on going, and I'm going to make it a little faster. When I make it a normal speed, it's just so that we can observe his body language, or Creighton or somebody in the audience. But overall, I'm going to try to do like a 1.7.
100.
So you're taking 60 a day or something like that? I mean,
There were days where I took more than that. There were days I took less than that.
and how would you take them during the course of the day? I mean, how many are you taking at one time? How frequent in this time period? Let's say January to June.
There's a point in time, and I'm not sure when it was. I think it was well before that, where, and you have to understand this. This is something that I can still remember the first time I ever took an OxyContin.
Murdaugh, can I ask you to answer my question, and I'll let you explain all you want. My question was, how many were you taking a day during this time from January to June? Answer that first, please, and if you want to explain, I'm happy to let you do so.
I'm not positive, and here's why. It's because over the years, like as I was saying, the first one OxyContin made me sick. And that was when I was transitioning from hydrocodone to oxycodone. And it made me sick because it's a really, really, really strong one. And so, one OxyContin pill was like 10 hydrocodone pills. So, but anyway, as I took more and more, and over the years, it just, you build up a tolerance to pain pills. And so what might give me this energy, one of the reasons I became so addicted is, some people talk about pain pills and how they make them lethargic and, where they can't do anything and they feel. Opiates gave me energy. I mean, whatever I was doing, it made it more interesting. It made me want to do it longer. To go on a drive, it made driving. It just at the beginning, it made everything better. But I took so much just to keep. It got to a point where I was taking so much just to not backslide or go into withdrawals or have all those symptoms. And so it got to the point where I was taking the amounts that I came to be taking in the time period you're talking about, January to June. So it evolved over time. It wasn't like it just started in, Mr. Waters.
Can you just give me one example of the day during that time period?
Sure.
So, I mean, did you start at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever time you got up and take one and then one every 30 minutes? I mean,
Well, no,
I'm giving you a chance to explain. So
It would
now
totally
be
depend.
specific.
It would totally depend on any number of circumstances. So starting a day, one of the main things that this would depend on was how late the day before I had taken pills and how many I had taken. And did I take them during the night? Did I wake up during the night and take them? So, let's just say that it had been a while since I took any and I slept and I woke up. All right. Then I would immediately, first thing, take pills, because if it's been a while, a lot of times if you slept and hadn't taken pills, you'd wake up and you could tell the beginnings of those. I'm not gonna say they were really withdrawals, but the agitation that you feel when you don't take it, and you could tell it. So you had to take it right away. And so I would start off, first thing I would do would take pills.
Creighton's like,
And that's how strong the withdrawals are for opiates, correct? That you feel that agitation until you can take another pill.
Yes. That's just agitation's the tip of the iceberg when it
talk about that.
comes to withdrawals, opiate withdrawals.
I think you said in your what's been played for the jury and the telephone conversation with Special Agent Kelly that, and you talked about withdrawals, just how strong they are, how you're willing to do anything to make them stop, correct?
I think what I said is almost anything.
Almost anything. Well, describe that, please.
You're sick. You're physically, you are physically sick. It's like having the flu when you ache and your joints hurt. You don't want to get up. You can't get up. And that's after a while. It starts with what you're talking about, agitation and, fidgety. Everybody talks about how fidgety I was. But it starts with that. And then it goes to, you might be sitting here and just all of a sudden sweat's running down your face, all over your body. I mean, you sweat like you ran a marathon. I mean, you literally sweat that much. The next thing that comes on after about, 12 hours is, I call it jumpy legs, but I mean, you literally, I mean, there's no way that you could sit right here in this chair. I mean, you couldn't remain sitting. I mean, you would have to get up and move around. And I mean, it's like your legs don't want to work. And that lasts for about anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. During that period, the intestinal issues come in, and you can't control yourself. You have
Yeah, we know.
diarrhea, like
We
you have food
heard.
poisoning.
We know.
You throw up. And you're physically sick.
How many times did you try to self-detox?
Mr. Waters, dozens, if not hundreds. There's so many I can't tell you.
And those symptoms you just described are extremely powerful and made it very difficult to do that. Is that correct?
Made it difficult to.
To try to self-detox.
Oh, it's extremely hard.
You mentioned yesterday that you were paranoid. How long had that been going on?
Well, no, I didn't say that I was paranoid. What I said was, as the addiction evolved, there would be situations where you would have these paranoid thoughts.
And when did those first start?
I can't tell you when they first started, but
I mean, how long before June of 2021?
a long
Week,
time.
a month, a
Oh,
long
no,
time?
no. It was as my addiction got worse. I mean, it was a significant period of time, but
How long did you have these paranoid thoughts?
usually a matter of seconds. I mean, it was something, again, my whole life, you wouldn't see me where I didn't have pills on me. And that's where I kept them. I kept them on me because I was scared to put them somewhere for fear somebody would find them. So I kept them on me. So if you saw me, I had pills on me. I had a pocket full of pills on June the 8th. On June
I believe that. I
8th,
believe that.
when I was sitting in David Owen's patrol car. So I always had them on me. And I might be going to Edgestoke, and I turn on Hampton Street right out here, and a police car pulls out. Boom. I have paranoid thoughts. But I could always say, you're not doing anything.
Wait, let me make this a little bit more normal speed because he's like smiling and I'm not sure if he's just what kind of smile that is. So let's see.
Wrong. He's not following you, and I could get past it in a matter of seconds.
Did anybody in your family ever see you having these severe withdrawals?
The predator stare.
Absolutely.
He just follows
He did.
Creighton with the eyes.
Mags, Pawpaw, Bus,
Pawpaw.
my dad, Randy, John Marvin.
Now I'm gonna stop here real quick just to point out something. The lip, licking the lips or doing a lot of the tongue movement that Alex does, as far as the body language goes, I like the people who study body language who are observers and they are prone to asking questions. Like if something is different from your baseline, which is the way that you normally act, I'm going to notice in my mind and ask myself, okay, why is that? Let me go back to that. And they're not of the school of body language that people like to be like, okay, you touch your nose, you're lying, or you did this, you're lying, because nothing really is 100%. Each individual is different and unique, but the lip and the licking of the lips, which Alex does a lot, if we notice him, usually means that when we are stressful, when we are under stress, that our saliva dries up. So usually we can, manipulate the tongue and lick our lips. And in his case, it could be that he's lying in one of these statements. So I don't know. Let's see what else he's going to say here, but that could be a sign.
And just to be clear, Randy and John Marvin never saw me having withdrawals before September. They saw me.
And I thank you for clarifying that. Prior to June of 2021, who in your family saw you having these severe withdrawals?
Bus, Pawpaw, Maggie, my dad.
Do you remember calling remember calling Paul a little detective?
I don't know that I ever called him a little detective, but I think Maggie did. I may have. I mean, Paul was very intuitive. So
Okay, so one of the red flags in the book Psychopath Free that I'm sharing right now is you find yourself playing detective. So again, this book is really based and focused on people who experience toxic people in relationships. Okay. So the book is excellent, but it does paint a picture of a psychopath that lives among us, people with narcissistic personality disorder, people who enjoy watching another person go crazy and just, enjoy gaslighting, manipulating. They're pathological liars. And in this case, the book is telling me as the reader, you find yourself playing detective. It's never happened in any other relationship, but suddenly you're investigating the person you once trusted unconditionally. If they're active on Facebook, you start scrolling back years on their posts and albums. Same with their ex, you're seeking answers to a feeling you can't quite explain. And in this case, with Alex talking about his son Paul being intuitive, and other people in the family calling him little detective, right? Because Paul probably just couldn't explain certain things, and he was always trying to like find out what's going on with his dad or whatever else he was trying to investigate. And we see how that played for him, that even after his passing, his video was here to be a major factor in this case.
I heard
think you said
Miriam.
that during
I
one of
heard
your interviews.
I heard Miriam call him a little detective. I know Maggie used to call him that.
Did that have anything to do with the pills?
And here again, Alex called him a little detective in one of the interviews with the police. So this pathological lying, right? The need to lie, even though there's no need to lie, right? Did you ever call him? Oh, I know Maggie did. I know this other person did. I never called him. But then you have a video of him calling, oh, Paul is a little detective. So pathological lying, right? It's another sign. And when we see these signs over and over again, we have to ask, okay, is this guy a psychopath? Does he have that antisocial disorder that is prone to crime and stuff like that?
Well,
Oh, well.
yeah, it had something to do with
Well.
it. But I mean, Paul was always that way. But that what led him to be called a little detective. Certainly, there were times when Paul found pills.
Okay.
Including just a month before the murders. Is that correct?
No, sir.
You recall 6/5/23 that was entered into evidence, which is a text from Paul to you,
I did.
which you said that Maggie found pills in your bag.
Right.
Tell me about what happened after
You
that.
asked me about Paul finding them, but it was Maggie that found them.
Fair enough. So it was Maggie that found them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But Paul's the one who reached out to you, correct?
On that occasion, yes, sir.
And what was the discussion after that?
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was about it. I'd had eye surgery I don't know what day it was, but days before that, the day Maggie found them, Maggie drove me to the doctor for me to have my cataract removed, whatever they call that surgery. I can't remember. But I had a cataract taken out, outpatient. You go in for a couple hours and you come out. And it was during COVID. And so Maggie wasn't allowed to come into the doctor's office. And so she sat in the car. And I had left pills in the computer bag and sitting out there bored. I guess she started looking at my computer and found them in the computer bag. So she found.
This lady looks like she's in pain, very sad. This guy looks like he has disgust in his face. And this girl looks like she's questioning, like she's doubting. She's very confused about this answer. And Jim just looks like he's desperate. Get me out of here. I can't stand another minute of this torture. Help.
Those pills.
All right. And so she obviously told Paul, and Paul texted you, correct? About finding those pills
That's correct.
in May of 2021.
That's correct.
And you've heard your sister-in-law, Marion, testify that Maggie called him the little detective about the pills. You heard that testimony in this courtroom?
I did hear that.
All right. So did they start to watch you like a hawk and get on you about your pill usage during the month of May?
No,
They did not.
no, Mr. Waters, this battle that I had with addiction, it had been going on for years. And so they had been watching me like a hawk for years before May. May was just one occurrence where I let them down. Again,
They've been watching you like a hawk for years. Is that correct?
about my pill addiction. Yes, sir. That is correct.
That is big. Now, let me just go back into the normal speed. The amount of biting and tongue movement here. Let me just, I don't want to go too much.
This time in May, that wasn't the only time that Paul.
Hold on. One more time. 42 minutes.
I had left pills in the computer bag and sitting out there bored. I guess she started looking at my computer and found them in the computer bag. So she found those pills.
All right. And so she obviously told Paul, and Paul texted you, correct? About finding those pills
That's correct.
in May of 2021.
That's correct.
And you've heard your sister-in-law, Marion, testify that Maggie called him the little detective about the pills. You heard that testimony in this courtroom?
I did hear that.
All right. So did they start to watch you like a hawk and get on you about your pill usage during the month of May?
No,
They did not.
no, Mr. Waters, this battle that I had with addiction, it had been going on for years. And so they had been watching me like a hawk for years before May. May was just one occurrence where I let them down.
Lips.
Again,
They had been watching you like a hawk for years. Is that correct?
about my pill addiction. Yes, sir. That is correct.
Stare. So again, when we're moving our tongue too much, and it's because usually our mouth gets dry out of stress, and lying does make us stressed. So moving the tongue and the lips produces saliva, which helps with that. I don't know if that's what's going on here. We also see Alex doing a lot of mouth movements, a lot of lips, when something is supposed to be emotional. And I don't know if that's a way that he forces his head to turn red or something like that. I don't know. And I'm not here to judge whether he is feeling that pain or not. It's just that I observed the contrast between Alex being on the stand and like Maggie's sister being on the stand, or other people that have actually, made us emotional just by watching them. And to watch him is very difficult because it feels very superficial. And I don't mean to be like judgmental on him because I really don't know him at all. All I know is this trial that we have witnessed. But yeah, he does do a lot of that mouth movement also I think in situations where maybe it's appropriate to cry. And I think we'll see more of that going on today.
May, that wasn't the only time that Paul found pills or Maggie found pills. Is that correct?
Now, there were a number of times where Mags found pills, Paw found pills. Bus found pills. I mean, it was an ongoing, it was just an ongoing battle for me.
So the ongoing battle, the battle that I had with addiction, all of that puts him in a victim position, right? Like, feel sorry for me because I am going through this battle. And it's almost like a cry for help of not a real cry for help, but a cry for somebody identify with me, somebody hopefully in the jury's family has a battle with addiction, and they will understand when I use these words.
And after they found those pills in May, that being Maggie and Paul, were they trying to get you to self-detox?
No, sir, not at that point in time.
They just let it go?
No, they didn't let it go. But at that point in time, Paul and I had already had a discussion based on, I can't remember exactly when it was, but there'd been a previous occasion a good while back where there'd been a previous occasion where either Maggie or Paul had found pills, and Paul had come to me and asked me, and I told him, you know, I was back on the pills.
The mouth movement, I don't know if it's to produce some type of crying, but he's even doing like a whole
And-
face gymnastics here. I think he's trying to produce some crying. I don't know. What else could it be with this whole tongue?
We had a long talk. As I said, I don't remember exactly when it was before that. Paul and I had a long talk, and we'd agreed, I had agreed, and I detoxed so many times. I'd been to detox. I detoxed at home with Maggie's help. I detoxed at home with doctor's help. I detoxed on my own, tried to, and it just detoxing just didn't work. It just, you could detox, but you couldn't, no, not you. I couldn't stay off of them.
Good catch, Alex. You, not us.
And so,
And when you do struggle, that's something he caught himself doing. And, you know, usually when we do struggle with something or when we're telling a story that is meaningful to us, we do use we do use the pronoun, you know, I struggled with this for years, and it was hard for me. And every time I try to detox, I kept going back on it because, you know, also for people out there who have suffered with addiction, or who suffer with addiction currently, you know, there is always the detox, like he's saying, which is true. The detox is the physical part, right? You're detoxifying the body from the substance or the alcohol or whatever the case may be, because the body has been so accustomed and has built a tolerance to the drug or the alcohol that the person cannot safely remove the substance without being in danger of having serious consequences, and sometimes even dying from detoxing. Alcohol is one of the most dangerous drugs to detox from by yourself. So we always, you know, do encourage people to ask for help, talk to a professional, because it is really hard, and it is a battle that people shouldn't go on their own. And then after people detox, usually nowadays there's so many rehabs and places that people can go to detox physically. They are encouraged to go to a program, and they're encouraged to learn a whole different way of living that will help them to stay off the drugs and the alcohol. So here he's just he's saying, you know, when you go through this process, which is another red flag because it doesn't seem that genuine, because you're saying when you go through that, like trying to make the person live your story. But if it's genuine, we just say, when I went through this, it was so hard and I kept going back to it over and over again. And it was hard for me, you know, and then whatever the person understands, they understand, but it brings more sincerity when we talk about ourselves.
I promised Paul that as soon as we finished with his criminal case, that I would go to rehab.
Creighton's body language is not impressed
And
with the whole red face. He's just looking at him like, sure, BS me.
and on this particular occasion, Paul knew that his mom,
And he's cleaning the nose, but like
worried
the
about
juror
me so much.
the juror said, I didn't see any tears. So we'll look closer today and see if we find that Alex is really crying.
with pills, that on this particular occasion, I think that Paul convinced Maggie that I got those pills in anticipation of the
Now
eye
his face
surgery,
is white
but that I-
again. His face just turned from red to white. Like he just went like this in his nose with the thing. And then he's white. Like it's just odd behavior. And I think that every time he says Paul, he's trying to irritate Creighton, which is probably working because Creighton is like, why are you calling him Paul? So Alex, being the manipulator that he is and just trying to be passive aggressive, right? Produce anger and challenge Creighton. He just keeps using that name. That's just what I think.
never took them so that she would not worry that I was once again.
So you're talking about, now you're claiming that about the time in May, that Paul talked to Maggie and convinced her of that? Or are you talking about a different time?
I'm not claiming that, Mr. Waters. That's a fact. This is what happened.
All right, we're hearing that now, correct?
Hearing what now?
What you just said.
Well, you just asked me this. Mr. Waters, you keep making an issue about the first time you hearing these things.
Fight.
When I got arrested and I went to jail, we began reaching out to you to talk to you about all of these things,
Uh-oh.
to try to tell you.
Look at this girl. Look at this attorney's face, guys. Look at her face. She's like, what?
Thing that I'd done to give you all these details to help y'all go through these financial things. And up until the time that y'all charged me with murdering my wife and child, you would never
Look at Creighton.
give Jim Griffin
Yeah, what?
a response to our invitations to sit down and meet with you.
So you're telling me I never responded to Jim Griffin? Is that what you're saying?
And
here
he's
today?
smiling. He's like,
I'm telling you,
Are you saying that you ever before yesterday reached out to anyone through yourself or through your attorneys and reached out to anyone in law enforcement or the prosecution and told them the story about the kennels? Are you telling me?
Well, he didn't say the kennels. He said, I reached out to you. He didn't say, I reached out to you to talk about the kennels, to be fair.
That?
what I'm telling you,
Answer my
Mr.
question
Waters,
first, please, sir. Answer my question first.
You answer
Did
my
you ever
question.
reach out to anyone in law enforcement or the prosecution and tell that story that you told this jury yesterday about the kennels before yesterday?
did I ever reach out to law enforcement to say I want to?
Creighton is so pissed. Did you? Like, he makes Creighton repeats the question 3 times, and that pisses him off because he thought he was onto something. But Alex is like a weasel, and he won't let him get away with the question. Did I what?
Tell you about the kennels? No, sir, I did not. What
This
I,
is a Fifth Amendment line.
Fifth Amendment, dude.
This questioning about him volunteering information on these charges violates his Fifth Amendment rights, and we strongly object.
Are you aware of that, Judge? Have you ever heard of that? The Fifth Amendment, protecting the defendant's right to remain silent. The judge's like, what?
Make a motion.
He brought it up.
Objection's overruled.
Overruled.
What I did was,
Answer my question first, sir.
Your Honor, for the record, he did not bring it. He was talking about financial
Sit down,
stuff.
Mr.
Sit down. This is like such a gross moment. I'm going to take a break here because this is a gross moment, in my opinion, on the judge. Okay. Because God forbid somebody who is innocent, and I'm not talking about Alex. I don't know anything about Alex. But let's say somebody's innocent in a court of law and your attorney is trying to protect your right to remain silent and he's trying to emphasize the objection and the judge just says, sit down to your attorney. To me, this is just such a gross miscarriage of justice and it's just overreaching power from the judge's aspect, from the judge's perspective. I don't know. I see the judge now in a different way after he has given his statement during the verdict and all of that, the sentence. But this part where he tells the attorney to sit down and the attorney is making an objection to protect a constitutional right that each citizen has, it really, really bothered me. Sit down. Awful.
Yes or no question. Before yesterday, did you ever bring up what you told this jury about that kennels to anybody in the prosecution or anybody in law enforcement?
no, I didn't have the opportunity to, Mr. Waters, because you would not respond to my invitations to reach out and tell you about all the things that I'd done wrong. And to talk about bringing this to a
All
head.
the things.
to
He was
talk
going to
about
tell all the
bringing this to
things.
closure. I understand how many people I hurt. I understand.
I don't think you do, Alex.
How angry my partners are and how hurt they are. And I understand how hurt these people that I stole money from are. I understand how hurt they are. And one of the things that I believe is getting past this may help them get some closure. And so since at least January, I've been trying to sit down with y'all to talk to y'all
Okay.
and never.
I don't know if Alex means to talk about the financial crimes because he keeps going back to, Creighton is talking about the kennels. Did you reach out to talk about the kennels? Alex is talking about all the people he's hurt, all the people he took money from. So I think they're talking about different things here. And Alex wanted to reach out probably to talk about the financial crimes. And Creighton is like, wait, did you reach out to talk about the kennels? And, Jim tried to object twice and to put it on the record. And he was told to sit down by Judge Newman.
Never, ever got a response to the multiple requests.
Multiple requests.
Yes,
Look
sir.
at the
Multiple
smile. Creighton is so he's just making fun of Alex. It's like multiple requests.
requests.
So
I would ask
it's
about
a style. I mean,
Let's
few
ask
weeks.
this, sir.
this. Sir?
Did Mark Ball ever hear your story to the jury about the kennels until yesterday? Your buddy and law partner, Mark Ball?
Listen, I haven't spoken to Mark Ball since I went to rehab.
And these were the same law partners that you were listening to the night of. Is that what you testified to this jury earlier? You testified to that earlier, did you not?
I don't understand your question.
Didn't you testify earlier that you were listening to your law partners on the night of the incident?
Was I listening to them?
Yeah, you testified to that. It's a simple question, sir.
I don't
I'm
understand.
sure I was. When are you talking about?
On June 8th in the early morning hours, you testified to this jury that you were listening to them, but you never told them the kennel story either. And they heard it for the first time yesterday as well. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's the first time they heard it.
First time that Ronnie Crosby ever heard that would have been yesterday.
If he was listening, that would have been the first time he heard
If
it.
he was listening.
Heard that was yesterday.
Yes.
First time Danny Henderson, who was representing you in the boat case, ever heard that was yesterday?
Yes. Yesterday is the first time that
I
I
ever
have
said
said
it.
that
Yeah.
openly. But that's not what you were asking me, Mr. Waters, but you go ahead
First time your brother Randy heard that was yesterday.
if he was listening.
There goes the predator stare. He just stares at Creighton wherever he goes. And Dick's like, oh my goodness, this judge, we can't do anything. The judge doesn't listen to us at all.
And Mr. Waters,
It's
just
like
to
we're
be
not
clear,
here.
I was begging for a meeting with y'all to try to bring this to a close, to talk to y'all about everything up until the time that y'all charged me with hurting Maggie and Paul.
There
Now,
you go.
after that point in time,
Even my
stopped.
cousin Vinny is
Obviously,
like,
that you were
what?
begging for a meeting, and but you admit information was never conveyed that you wanted to change your story after multiple interviews with law enforcement about what happened that night, including the most important fact of all, which is when the last time you supposedly saw your wife and son alive was.
I don't know exactly what was conveyed or not because I wasn't part of it. All I know
Fair
is
enough.
what
You don't
I
know
was
what-
trying to do was to sit down. I understood to bring all this to a close that y'all would want me to sit down and go through all of these financial things, all of these things that I'd done wrong. And to try to bring that to a close, I was repeatedly trying to sit down with y'all.
The reality is, Mr. Murdaugh, is the reason why no one's ever heard that before is because you had to sit in this courtroom and hear your family and your friends, one after the other, come in and testify that you were on that kennel video.
Now, when he's talking about the family and friends testifying here, Alex's blink rate just goes off the roof. He's just like blinking faster, which is a sign of stress. This is hitting the spot here. It seems like Alex did enjoy having the life that he did where he could maintain his family. And I don't know if that gives him a sense of self, of being a prominent, family man. But just watch his face now, how, again, his eyes just display so much anger, and his forehead is like showing concern. I don't know if it's about the topic, but he absolutely shows anger for being confronted with this. And the fact that he lied about the kennel, and not because he is embarrassed that he lied, but just because he got caught in it, right? So here again, the pathological lying, an excuse. There's always an excuse for something, even things that don't require excusing. They make up lies faster than you can question them. They constantly blame others. It is never their fault. So just now, he just said to Creighton, I try to talk to you. I try to talk to your office. Like, it's your fault. It's your fault, right? I'm sure that if Alex wanted to have that story changed, he would have had it done, right? And then they spend more time rationalizing their behavior than improving it. And when caught in a lie, they express no remorse or embarrassment because he keeps saying, I try to talk to y'all, but he's caught in a lie. And now Creighton is showing him how his whole family testified and his friends testified. And he's getting very nervous and stressed because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that his mask is falling. And we are witnessing for the first time, we might be seeing the real Alex here.
So you, like you've done so many times over the course of your life, had to back up and make a new story that kind of fit with the facts that can't be denied. Isn't that true, sir?
No, sir, that's not true.
Okay, sure, whatever.
You've done that over and over again over the years with all of this that we've been talking about, haven't you?
I've done what over and over again?
The second that you're confronted with facts that you can't deny, you immediately come up with a new lie. Isn't that correct?
Blink, 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 blink.
Mr. Waters, as we've established, I have lied many times, but I can't sit here and tell you that, what are you talking about, facts that I can't deny? That I would disagree with that proposition that you're putting out, that was what I did all the time. But in doing that, I admit again that I've lied to people that trusted me.
Jim even put his head down because it's just not genuine. You know, it's not genuine. It doesn't feel genuine. Alex, I don't know who you think you are, fooling here, because look at the defeated face of Jim. It might be because of his objections and being told to sit down, but also because every time Alex repeats this phrase and we don't feel the sincerity in it, it's just devastating for the defense team.
So we can agree that the prosecution,
And here's the lips
law
again.
enforcement,
Stress.
and so many of your friends and family heard for the first time your story about the kennels yesterday after all these weeks of testimony. Can we agree on that?
The law enforcement, my partners
I'm going to repeat
and my
everything he
friends
just said.
heard me say that for the first time. Yes,
Yes,
I
sir.
agree with that.
Yes. I'm going to make this a little faster. I can't take it. I can't take it.
Would you agree with me?
Nope, I don't agree with you. Go, Creighton. Hurry up. You're like on 1.75.
That your own lawyer was repeating your story that you were at home napping as late as
Whoa.
November of 22 on national television.
I don't know.
You don't know that?
No, in jail, we don't get newspapers, and the TV we have is limited. So
So your own lawyers, at least as late as November 22, didn't know the story that you've told to the
They're
jury after 5
smiling
weeks of
back
family and friends
here.
coming in and saying, yeah, that's him on that video.
I don't
Again,
know.
Your Honor, violates attorney-client privilege communication, totally improper.
The judge doesn't care.
He has brought up his communications with counsel, and now that is fair game, Your Honor.
It's fair game. It's fair game that we find out that, that he spoke before this trial. It's fair game that we know what the conversations were when the attorneys were at his house. It's fair game that we know the financials. It's fair game that we know what the attorney privilege conversations were. Like, everything to Creighton is fair game. And I think that is disgusting. Honestly, I don't want the state to prosecute people like that. I want them to have facts and proof and do a good job and bringing justice and bringing criminals to justice. But the whole gotcha and the judge overrules everything the defense tries to do and sustains everything for the prosecution. I don't like that.
His communications through counsel with, or alleged communications with the prosecution.
He did.
There's no attorney-client privilege to national television interviews. The objection is overruled.
Overruled. Oh, what a surprise. What a surprise. Look at Alex's face. It's like a challenge between these
are you
two.
waiting for me to answer, Mr. Waters, or did I answer?
I think the point's made.
All right.
You said you were unaware of that national television interview, is that what you said?
Oh, man.
Unaware of what national television
The
interview?
one where your lawyer repeated that story as late as November of 2022. Your story that you were actually home asleep at the house.
The only national TV ad that I'm aware of is not ad program is one that Mr. Griffin was involved in. Are you referring to like a Dateline something?
I'm talking about HBO.
Okay, HBO. All right, like so, yeah, I am aware of that. And what I believe the case to be is that I believe that when that was in its works, that Mr. Griffin made those statements sometime substantially before November of 22, as early as around the very beginning of 2021.
Let's talk.
At least what I understand to be the case.
Let's talk some more about your testimony from yesterday. And you're telling this jury, even on something as clear as still on video, that your story doesn't change when you have to make them fit the facts that no longer can be denied. Is that what you're telling this jury?
I don't understand that question. Say that again.
I said, you're telling this jury that you don't change your story to make the facts fit evidence you can no longer deny, like what's been going on in this courtroom.
I'm not telling the jury anything about that.
All right, good. All right, let's move on. Let's talk some more about that issue. Let's talk about
The lips licking.
the confrontation on June the 7th, June 2nd, which you said was no big deal. Isn't that what you testified? Words to that effect?
I think what I testified to is that to me, it certainly didn't seem like a confrontation. Jeannie came to me and was almost apologetic. And this is what I believe, Mr. Waters, is I believe that what Jeannie Seckinger and my partners have had to go through since September has been hard I know I could see it. I could see the hurt that I caused them. And I know that they're betrayed, and I know that they're angry, and I know.
Now that would be something very fitting to somebody with NPD or psychopathy tendencies, because they can observe the hurt in other people, and they might even enjoy it a little bit, but they don't feel it, right? They don't have the empathy, which is what helps us to put ourselves in other person's shoes and feel their pain or feel for them. So he's saying here, I could see their hurt.
Know that they're hurt. And I
I
want to
can
make
see
clear
that
that
they're hurt.
while I disagree with what Jeannie said as to it being a confrontation, because I don't believe that it was, I don't think that she was lying. I think that she feels it. I think that, she believes that that's the case after all this time that she's had to deal with this. But on June the 7th, when she came to me, she was almost apologetic. You heard her say that she said that she wouldn't be doing her job if she didn't do this. And it was made clear to me that someone had said this, that I had to make sure that income came through the firm, that I couldn't structure money. In other words, I had the impression that there was concern that maybe, like Mark Ball and Ronnie Crosby said, that maybe I was hiding fees because of the civil boat case. But that conversation was so quick, Mr. Waters, that you keep using the term confrontation. I didn't take it as a confrontation.
And you're telling the story, you're not making that issue fit. Make your story fit with those facts by saying, it wasn't a big deal, and Jeannie, she's hurt, so she's overreacting now.
No, that's not
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying
saying.
and testify.
What I'm saying is exactly what I just testified to. That to me, on that day, that was not a confrontation. It ended almost as quickly as it began, and I didn't think about it again for a period of time until after everything.
And I totally believe that, because sometimes for us, something can be such a big deal. And I'll use the relationship as an example, and I'll use myself as an example, because I am a woman, and I'm not, I don't like to make that an issue, but usually, but women are more intuitive, and women are usually more connected to their emotions, their emotional side, more than men in a general way, who are more rational, more connected to their practical side in general, right? In general, that has always been the way things are. So for me, for example, when I had something that was bothering me, it would bother me for a while. Like when I was in a relationship with this guy that had the narcissistic personality disorder, and it would bother me, and it would really hurt me. And I would go through all these emotions. I would have to write on my journal, pray about it, talk to my friends, do all this processing of the emotion. And then if I confronted him, to him, that conversation was like nothing. It's like, oh, just a fly around me, So I totally believe Alex that he's saying that to her, it was a big deal, because to her, she was confronting this guy she's known for years. And to her, it was like a big confrontation, because she couldn't even fathom that he was doing all this, that he was taking all this money from the firm. But to him, it was nothing. It was nothing. And look at the paused image here, how he looks actually so evil. He even looks evil in this, which is never fair to pause nobody. But, to her, it was a big deal. But to me, it was like over as soon as it began. That's what he said.
Thing happened.
You testified earlier, you get paranoid if a police officer turns out behind you, but you're not getting paranoid when Jeannie comes in here and says, I need an answer about these fees.
No, because
I believe you took
No, I'm
things
used
like
to
that
it.
wouldn't cause
Adapter on the
paranoid thought
microphone.
and the paranoid thinking. It was always related to pills. It was always, okay, that reaction that somebody just gave me.
It was always related to pills.
Do they know something? Did something somebody said? It was, the time that's what, when I had to deal with paranoid thinking, that, if a judge confronted me in the courtroom about a piece of evidence, or if,
He's smiling, and now he's talking about a judge, and the judge does not like him, and the judge must be thinking, when I get you, man, when I get you.
Jeannie asked me about that. Those are not things that gave me paranoid thinking.
Okay.
But as soon as he said that, he went, which are two adapters, right? And now look at his face. His face is of disgust. Usually disgust is a kind of like a crooked or uneven facial expressions. So here on one side of the lips are up and the other side the lips are down. Almost like he's confronting me about this. I don't know what Alex is thinking, or why does it make, if it's a disdain overall for the prosecutor, or if this is just like a disdain for the question, or for the fact that they are getting to the date of the murder here.
And testify the same thing about the boat hearing on June 10th. Not worried about it. No big deal. Correct?
No, I didn't say that it was no big deal, but I said that my main concern about those motions coming up on June the 10th dealt more with the venue motion than they did with the motion to compel, I believe is what I
Are you
said.
telling the jury that you didn't testify yesterday, that you weren't concerned about it?
I wasn't overly concerned about it.
Okay.
And I'm sure I had some level of concern because the venue motion was a big issue in the case.
Were you concerned enough about it to bow up on Mark Tinsley at the trial lawyers conference and say, what are you doing, Bo?
No, absolutely, unequivocally, never happened.
If the Ferris fee issue comes to light on June 7th, you're not gonna be able to borrow money from Johnny Parker anymore, are you?
If the Ferris fee, hypothetically speaking, if the Ferris fee came to light on June the 7th, well, here, any point in time, if the Ferris fee came to light, Johnny Parker would not loan me money. If Johnny knew that I had taken fees, I would not have been able to borrow money from Johnny Parker.
You testified earlier about going to the Gamecock baseball game on the weekend prior to Monday, June 7th, 2021, correct?
Correct. Sir?
All right. I'm gonna show you what's been marked as stage 572 to this trial. You got your readers with you, your glasses. And have you, first I just want you to look through that document and then answer the question, do you generally know what that is?
I'm going to take a quick pause here. I just want to share a little bit more about psychopathy as we are trying to observe Alex's body language during this cross-examination. Another one, well, a couple of signs here from this article. This article is from Psych Lens, and some of the 20 traits here of a psychopath, okay? This is pathological lying. So this, to me, is the more evident one that I can observe from Alex, right? Because he is definitely a pathological liar. Like, he'll start lying about something, he'll lie when there's even no need to lie. Like, he'll just lie for the heck of it. Like, do people call, did you call Paul a little detective? And he's like, no, Maggie called him that, or so and so called him that. And then later on, we see the video where Alex is being questioned by the police, and he is saying Paul is a little detective. So the lying, the pathological, just for no reason. Now, glib and superficial charm. So glib, marked by ease and fluency in speaking or writing, often to the point of being insincere or deceitful. And that is definitely the overall feeling that I get from when Alex is speaking. Like, I have that feeling that he's being insincere, or that he could be honest. Like, why don't you just be honest, man? Why don't you just answer the way it is? You know, you took the money because you're selfish, because you're on drugs, because you didn't think of anybody else. Like, to me, he just gives me that vibe of being insincere. Superficial charm, yes, because even when he's like trying to connect to the jury and telling them like a cute little story, he's smiling, you know, and people are like not buying his charm anymore. But obviously his charm has carried him through. His superficial charm, right, has carried him through. grandiose sense of self. That is where his ego comes in. And for a psychopath or somebody with NPD, the ego is the biggest thing. And even though he may not say it, he may say, I don't think of myself as important or things like that. The prestige, the power is very important to him. And you can see that by the fact that he had blue lights in his car, for example, the fact that he took a badge and he had the badge displayed when he was going to get pulled over or whenever he felt like he needed to show that extra power influence, right? The grandiosity. Because in reality, like Creighton said very, very intelligently, do you think of yourself as law enforcement? And he did, because he said, well, people respect law enforcement. Yeah, people are friendlier to law enforcement. And Creighton's like, do you think of yourself as what, law enforcement? He's like, no. But yes, you just said you do, because you had the badge and you had the blue lights for that matter. So the grandiosity, need for stimulation. This is something that psychopaths have in common, because they are constantly bored and nothing really fulfills them, because they have, a hollow soul. They lack empathy. They lack significance in their brains, in their hearts, in their souls. So for them, it's like from bored to either they have anger or lust or hunger. Something very superficial is what they experience. So they have the need for constant stimulation. Cunning and manipulative. I think this is what we can see in Alex a lot. The manipulative ways, because he's able to lie to his clients, no matter how much the clients need the money, or no matter how much pain the clients are experiencing, and how much trust they put into him for being the one to help them. He manipulates them into believing that he's helping them, and he takes everything from them. So that is a big one also. The lack of remorse or guilt. Some can say that he expresses the lack of remorse during the verdict and the sentencing, but I'm not even going to go that far. I'm just going to stay here on the cross-examination. But he does have a lack of remorse or guilt for when he lies. He lies about being at the kennel, and he also lies about the last time he saw his wife and son. And I think that, the last things you say or a loved one said to you before they pass away are eternalized. And I remember very well the last thing my mom said to me, or the last conversation, or at least the way the last interaction was before she passed away. And I don't know how everybody else is, but he definitely displays a lack of remorse or guilt for even not being there to help them in that moment when they were killed, or not I can't believe I didn't say I love you to her, or something like that. It was just like, oh, well, what did you say to her? Oh, I would have said bye, got into my golf cart, and then left. So it's very weird, very odd. Shallow emotional response. Some can say that too when he talks about his clients that he stole from. It's like, oh, I can see that they're hurt, or I know they're hurt. Or just now when he was talking about Jeannie, I believe her name was, the CFO that confronted him on June 7th. The shallow emotional response. Like, I could see that she was hurt. Callousness and lack of empathy. If he did commit these crimes, obviously he lacks empathy and he is callous, but I'm not going to suggest that. Number 9, parasitic lifestyle. Number 10, which he wouldn't really, that wouldn't apply to him. Number 10, poor behavioral controls. Now that would apply because of the drug addiction. So just going to take a break. We'll come back to the other 10 traits of psychopath in a little bit. So let's go back to his testimony. As he's looking through financial stuff.
So if you'll stand for a moment.
Pretty
Everybody
sure.
stand for a moment.
Let's stand for a moment. That is a great thing Judge Newman always did. The stretch breaks. Woo. Stretch break. Now, when Alex is not talking, I kind of feel bad for him because like the juror said, like the guy that spoke, I think he was the second guy to speak, the 22-year-old, he said, I can't tell you why he would do something like that because I can't put myself in that situation, in that frame of mind. And that is how I am. I'm a highly an empathetic empath. Empath is the word, right? I'm an empath. I feel for other people. And like when he's not talking, I feel bad for him. I'm like, oh, poor Alex, poor guy. He's innocent until proven guilty, right? That's him right here on this day. And just in this terrible situation. So, but if he did it, then it's like, how can somebody do that?
Come to order.
But look, when he's quiet, he looks so innocent. But then he talks, and then we're done. When he starts speaking, we're done. I can't believe him anymore when he starts.
May it please the court. Have you had a chance to review that, Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
All right, and do you recognize what those are generally?
I do.
And what are they?
Text between Maggie and I.
And what day did they take place?
June the 6th.
June the 6th, 2021. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
At this time, Mr. Statement offer states 572 and evidence. Objection.
Admit without objection.
All right. Tell the jury, where were you when these texts were taking place?
I was in a hotel,
And what city were you in?
Columbia, South Carolina.
And where?
I'm not exactly sure where they were when they first started, but they would have been somewhere between the hotel, a restaurant, and the ball field.
All right. Well, when you sent this text on June 6th, 11:41, you say y'all in seat already, correct?
Yes, that's what I did say.
All right. And they say, yeah, Maggie says, yes, we like these seats. Is that correct?
All right, that's correct. I didn't notice that. So at that point in time, they are in the ballpark.
All right. And then you respond, better than last night. They extended checkout to 1. Going to come then. Is that correct?
That's what that text says. Yes,
All
sir.
right. So you're back at the room. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Later on, you text after she asked you to bring a charger and says, Muggy, you text, I'm draining it. See you in a little bit. Is that correct?
That's what I said. Yes, sir.
She responds, don't
Jim is itching his head, lifting an eyebrow, just like, and Dick just seems constantly confused.
come. But then asks about the charger and says it's hot. Is that correct?
Mr. Waters, yes, I assume you were reading it exactly. So, yes, sir.
Did I read that right? Yes, you read
Eventually
very
responds.
well.
Not crowded, but not the place to come if you don't feel well. Very hot and muggy. We were inside, sitting at the bar, very nice indoors. Is that correct?
That's what it says. Yes, sir.
And then you respond out by accident. They were making me leave, so I'll see y'all in a few. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And who was making you leave where?
It was past checkout time at the hotel.
After you got an extended checkout, correct?
It appears so.
And the reality is that you were in that hotel suffering from withdrawals when that's going on. Is that correct?
I was beginning to. Yes, sir.
And the reality is that your wife and your son were on you at that time period because they had found pills just a few weeks prior.
No, sir, that's not correct.
That's there.
Talk about
Now, Creighton's body language is also, it's very interesting, the body language between both of them right now, because Alex is constantly staring at Creighton almost as in a challenge, but I'm going to be passive aggressive about it. Like he's like challenging Creighton, but he's going to be very polite in his responses. And then Creighton almost looks like his body language is almost like, I don't believe anything you're saying. Everything you're saying is BS. So go ahead and BS me. I'm just going to be very comfortable here on the podium while you tell me your stories. And it's interesting to see Jim constantly looks very worried. Which, this is very personal to Jim. Jim was friends with Alex and his family, and he knew his family. And it's painful to watch. And when I look at Jim, is also what raw emotion looks like. Even though he's professional and I'm not taking anything away from him, when I look at Alex, it's a blank face that sometimes I see anger on, sometimes I see a challenge, sometimes annoyance, but I don't see the pain, the hurts, the difficult, how difficult this is for me. I don't see that. So maybe it's just my eyes, but that face and this face, they're two different things for me. Raw emotion or trying to hide the emotion, worried, sad, uncomfortable for being in this position in the first place. And this is like, challenge me. I dare you. How dare you? Almost like, if I get out of here, you'll be the next one. If I am to believe everything that we are believing in this trial. And Creighton's just like, whatever.
June 7th, okay.
I don't care. Nothing you're going to say is true. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to turn my back. I'm going to wait here until you tell me the story.
What time do you think you got up and left that day?
After having the benefit of looking at all these records.
Lots of
I don't know what time I
adjusters
got up.
here,
Looking at the records,
adapters, lots of adapters. Alex is definitely uncomfortable talking about this. He touches the mic, he touches his ear, he touches his nose. So lots of adapters, things, movements that are not needed. Nothing is going on here or here or here, but we do it to relieve stress from our bodies.
I've been up for a while, but it appears I left shortly after noon.
Okay. And you went to work?
I did, yes, sir.
And what were you working on at work?
I was working on this Dominion Energy case. Was primarily what I was working on. That we had motions coming up later in that week. As I said earlier, I believe at the time that it was the biggest case that I'd ever been involved in. And there were motions coming up in that. I was preparing. Danny Henderson, my partner, that was helping me with the civil case from the boat wreck, had been on me about getting a financial statement, and I finished doing that so that it could be given to Danny. It's what I remember doing. Obviously, I talked to Jeannie.
And when Alex is talking about the normal things at work, the normal day, the things that he was doing, the mundane things that we do every day in an office, his demeanor changes because it seems like that's a truthful statement. So he's not like trying to repeat the question 1,000 times or doing a lot of mouth movements or staring. He's just like, talking to the jury normally. Like, this is what I did that day. And then I did this and then I did that. That's what I did. And seems normal to me. Now, this is boring, this attorney, because she's tired. I'm just kidding. But she's like, here we go again with the lies. Yum, 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 yum. And Creighton as well, as usual, with the uninterested body language, as in, nothing gonna tell me is the truth. And I am just gonna get comfortable here in the podium while you lie to me. The AG has that look under the glasses. And Jim continues to look worried and just very hurt to be in this whole situation.
Okay. And what time did you leave?
And I'm sure I did some other routine obvious things, but can't tell you what they are.
What time did you leave?
It appears that I left around a little after 6 from the records.
Okay.
I thought I left earlier than that, but the records seemed to be pretty clear.
All right. And you were, in fact, I think you said in many of your interviews that you were working on the book case that day as well, your financial declaration.
Yes, I prepared a financial declaration. I didn't do any work in this civil case. So my work in that is what I did. I prepared a financial statement, which took me a little bit of time to get the details on that. But I mean, that was the work I did in preparation for the motions coming up.
And what time did you get home?
And looking at the records, it looks like I got home a little before 7, 6:45, I think, 6:40 something.
And you and Paul raided the property?
That's correct.
And you told law enforcement you shot a 22?
That's correct.
You told law enforcement That you never saw any blackout?
Did I never see a blackout?
At that point in time when you and Paul were riding the property.
No, I did not see a blackout.
Did you tell law enforcement that you and Paul were going around looking for hogs?
If I said that,
Go ahead.
and if I told them that, you don't look for hogs in the daytime. All right, the hogs are deep in the swamp in the daytime. So I can tell you.
Now let's just take a pause to look at Creighton. Creighton has his legs crossed, his arms crossed. Sure. Whatever.
Paul and I were not riding around looking for hogs. But what we were doing is we were going from food plot to food plot, and we were looking for hog signs. All right, what a hog would do is come out of the root, and they tear up food plots, they tear up everything. And so that was one of the things we were doing. But we were not hog hunting. We were not looking for hogs. We did not have the 300 blackout with us.
Paul didn't have the gun that blackout that he favored with him while y'all rode the property.
The gun that's in here,
Any rifle.
there was no 300 blackout with me and Paul.
All y'all had was a 22.
And that was a 22 pistol, but we didn't have that with us at that time riding the property.
Right. And you testified. You seen the Snapchat video of you on the tree? Is that right?
I have seen that.
And you don't dispute the time of that video, do you?
I don't even know what time that was taken, but whatever the gentleman came and testified to, I don't dispute that.
All right. And what time? Let me ask you this: when did you go back to the house? Were you with Paul or were you by yourself?
I was by myself when I went back to the house. I went back to the house basically when Maggie got there.
When Maggie got there. All right. And where had Paul gone prior to that? Was he back at the house already or he came after you?
Paul was in the shop when I went back to the house.
All right. So you beat him to the house is what you're saying. Is that right?
I beat him to the house?
Yeah. You were at the house prior to him getting there.
Yes.
All right. And you say Maggie was there at the same time or there before you or there after?
I'm making it's funny when it goes from 2-speed to normal and do it at the same time. And okay, so we're gonna make it normal because I think this is the close to the time of the murders. So I just want to observe their body language more closely.
After you.
That's what I'm not absolutely certain about. I believe that Maggie came through the kennel entrance and going back and looking at these records and these times, I believe she came through the kennel entrance while Paul and I were at shop. But either way, I got to the house very shortly after Maggie got there.
Okay.
And I believe that she came through and I believe that I went right behind her.
And when did you take?
I believe this. I believe that. Right. Nothing is for certain. Looking at the records, it's really a odd way to tell a story because there's a lot of qualifiers, right? It's not a straight answer. Did you get there first or what was Paul doing? Paul went to the shop. I was there. And then Maggie got there and we had dinner. No, it's I believe Paul was at the shop. He might have gotten there first. And then I believe, but I'm not sure. Looking at the records, I believe it might have been. Lots of qualifiers here.
Shower that you've been talking about.
Licking the lips, sign of stress. Again, we try to lick our lips or move our tongue when we are trying to produce saliva. Because dry mouth is a sign of stress, which can be caused by lying. We don't know that for sure. That's the case here. We don't know that for sure, but we know that that's a way to produce saliva.
I believe when I first went in the house, I mean, I would have talked to Maggie for a second, but I'd seen her that morning. So I would.
Again, everything Alex says here is very difficult to believe, at least to take it as he's putting it out there, because in this answer, he's like, his whole forehead frowns and then his shoulders kind of like this a little bit, like lifting. He's not lifting it all the way, but it's when we are uncertain about something. And he is saying, I believe, but it's very different than when you are hearing a story that is more sincere, really, because it's more like, oh, we did this, and that. Oh, are you sure? Well, I'm not 100% sure. It's different than saying, I believe this, I believe that, I believe that, I believe that.
You left your clothes on the floor.
And the lips, watch his lips, constant lip movement here.
I'm not sure. It makes sense to me given what Blanca's
Now, again,
said,
based
but
on this
I couldn't tell
evidence.
you one way or the other.
All right.
And the blink rate going up.
About what time was that, you think?
And looking at the records, I think that was a little after 8.
And Jim's going to eat that pen.
You're saying Maggie was already there at that point.
When I got to the house,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I asked you. So that would be great.
And
You
what
could
did you do
answer
after
that.
that?
I came back out, sat out on the couch to eat dinner.
All right. What time was that?
A few minutes later, it didn't take me long to shower.
And you say Paul was already eating at that point?
He was.
You say he left first.
What I said is he got up and he finished eating and he left our immediate vicinity. Now, I don't believe he left at that point, given what I've looked at time records and all. I believe that he was around the house for a little bit longer,
And just to be clear again,
but I didn't see him.
all of this detail was people were hearing for the first time yesterday, like we talked about before, correct?
Correct, Creighton. Yes.
Say that again.
All of this detail that we're going through right now is not anything that you related before. We're all hearing this for the first time.
Objection.
Objection, Your Honor. Fifth Amendment privilege.
Objection is overruled.
Overruled because
So-
there's no such thing as a Fifth Amendment in this court.
Yes, I did not tell law enforcement.
Or nobody, right? For that matter. Lick the lips. And the stare is like a predator.
Actually, I don't think law enforcement.
This is a bad thing. Don't do that, people. When there's a question, answer the question. When there's no question pending, don't answer. Don't keep answering. And he's going to keep talking, even though there was no question pending.
Asked me what I did when we first went to the house, but I clearly lied to law enforcement about
Mm-hmm.
what I said yesterday.
Okay. And all of this, the last time you supposedly saw your wife and child, all of this detail, you as a lawyer and a prosecutor didn't think that was important to offer on your own?
So I think it's important.
You told this jury how cooperative you've been and how much information you wanted to provide, but you left out the most important parts, didn't you?
I left out that. I sure did.
You don't consider that one of the most important parts?
I think it's important.
Another thing that Alex does hear a lot in this interaction is he bites a lot. Like the muscle, like right here, the bone shows. And I think that's also a way to relieve stress from the body because it's something that people can't see supposedly, but it's a way to move the tension over here when I'm biting hard.
All right, tell me about what happens next. Tell me about how Maggie and Paul end up down at the kennels.
Tell me.
I'm still not absolutely certain exactly how they ended up at the kennel, but in looking at the time frames and looking at the GPS points, I think I pretty well know, because I wasn't sure if Maggie had walked to the kennels or ridden to the kennels, and I wasn't exactly sure how Paw got there, but
It bugs Creighton every time he says Paw.
I'm all but certain that Maggie and Paul went to the kennel together.
All right. And what was the discussion? You said that they were going down there, but you didn't want to go. Is that right?
Maggie, what I said is Maggie asked me to go to the kennels with her, and I wasn't going to go. I said, I'm not going to go.
And how long after she left did you supposedly go down there?
It was very quickly.
And what did you tell
Jim
the jury?
seems so
and all
annoyed
those new
about
facts
this.
as to the reason you changed your mind?
I think, look at Jim. He just went like this. Very, very subtle, but he went like this. He has the pen in his mouth, and just like, to me, Jim's face right now translates as in like, I think he might have done it. I can't believe this. Like, just like awful stuff.
Why'd you change your mind?
I just had a shower. When you go to the kennel, you always end up at the shop, dogs are running around, you're always going to end up doing more work. All right? It's hot. I'd already had a shower. I didn't want to go to the kennel
I understand that. So why'd you change your mind?
because Maggie wanted me to.
So you thought about it for a few minutes and then decided to go down there?
I don't think I sat and contemplated, am I going to go? Am I going to go? I think that, like many things Maggie wanted me to do, if I didn't do it at first, I ended up doing it.
And you took the golf cart down to the kennels?
That's correct.
How long did that take to drive from the house down to the kennels in a golf cart?
You know, in looking at the records from OnStar and all of that, it seems to take about a minute in the
In a golf cart?
nope, in the Suburban. So I would think it's probably, in looking at those speeds, of what, 20, 24 miles an hour, I would think it takes double that. I think it takes a couple minutes.
All right, so you'll concede at least a couple minutes to drive down there.
I
Is that
think,
right?
yes,
In a golf cart?
that's correct.
Now that again with the mouth, you know, the half, the expression with the term for disgust in body language, right? When there's like an uneven movement of the mouth, and I think it's because Alex is so bothered by this being a confrontation. He never expected this to go this far. He doesn't like to be confronted, questioned. He has always been above the authority, and to him, it's like his body is showing that he's very uncomfortable about this whole questioning, being found out. Not that he did lie, not that he is wrong for it, because remember, you know, when people like this are caught, they express no remorse or embarrassment, but they are bothered by being found out. They don't like to be discovered.
When the kennel video was going on, had you arrived before that?
I believe that I had.
Okay. How long do you think you?
I believe that I had, and then he's going to do, again, a lot of mouth gymnastics here. And yes, Carla, I have been saying all along that he fits every criteria of a psychopath. He's very charming, glib, a pathological liar, manipulator. I noticed all that. That is how you know he's trying to fool the court by manipulating the questions. Very, very true. And she's saying here that is how you can tell he's lying. A liar will repeat the question back or ask to have the question repeated. And he does that so much, right? He does that all the time. Also, when he was saying, no, he didn't kill Maggie and Paul, he was shaking his head. Yes, we'll see. We'll see that one. I don't think we have shown that yet. So before we get back to the video here real quick, let's go back to this article with 20 signs of a psychopath. So we went through the first 10 signs here, which I think Alex fits very well in all of these. Now, these, I'm just going to read them real quick. 11, sexual promiscuity. 12, early behavior problems. 13, lack of realistic long-term goals. 14, impulsivity. 15, irresponsibility. 16, failure to accept responsibility. 17, many short-term marital relationships. 18, juvenile delinquency. 19, revocation of conditional release. And 20, criminal versatility. Versatility. Now here, early behavior problems is something we hear a lot about, or even when we're watching movies and we see like, oh, you know, the person who has the tendencies to hurt animals and stuff could possibly be a psychopath in the future. That none of the only thing here that I think might fit on these 12 through 20 might be the failure to accept responsibility, and maybe a criminal versatility. I have to say that again. Criminal versatility and the failure to accept responsibility. Because even when he is telling us about the things he did, it doesn't seem sincere. He's just repeating a phrase like a robot. Just like Creighton said, you could easily just hold a piece of paper that said, I have stolen money. It was wrong for me to do it. I shouldn't have done it. Like over and over again.
You'd been there before that was going on.
Not long.
Back to the murder.
Because when I got there, in looking at the kennel video,
A lot of tongue, a lot of stress
you
in
can
his
see
mouth.
Pawpaw standing in the kennel.
Wow.
When I got there, Pawpaw wasn't standing in the kennel.
He wasn't in
Lots
the
of
kennel anymore?
tongue, lots
Well, he
of
wasn't in the
uncomfortable
kennel like
movement.
he is in the video.
Right.
He's probably, and I don't know exactly, but I know he wasn't in the kennel. He was like in the driveway. He was fooling with cash. He was in the driveway.
Again, a lot of I don't know, a lot of checking the data, a lot of after looking at the evidence, a lot of I don't know, I'm not sure. And another word that he uses here is that he was fooling with cash. In another video, he said Maggie likes to fool with the dogs, which is a little bit of a negative term, right? And like not a negative term, but instead of saying they love the dogs or they were spending time with the dogs, they're fooling with the dogs.
Like close to the kennel, but not in the kennel like he is in the video.
So the video happened after that, according to you?
Video happened after I got
After
there.
you first saw Paul? You're saying he wasn't in the kennel. When did the video happen?
I believe that to be the case.
Okay. After you had arrived. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, if Alex knew the video was happening, I don't think he would be in this situation because he would have found a way to manipulate himself out of it, right? So here we go with another story. And again, Creighton turns his back to Alex, which in this measuring contest that they have going on back and forth is such an insult to Alex. If Alex is really a psychopath and his ego is so fragile, this is such an insult because who do you think you are to turn your back on me when you ask a question, right? You have to listen to my BS and you have to listen to my stories and you have to believe me. That's like that grandiose superiority air that the people with NPD or psychopathy have.
Very shortly after I arrived, but after I
But
arrived,
Creighton's not
And
interested.
did you tell Maggie at that time that you were going to go to Alameda?
I did not.
Did y'all discuss it at all, according to you, to these new facts you're testifying to?
I don't believe so.
Did you have any conversation with her?
Oh, yeah.
Had you had a conversation? Did you have a conversation with Paul about the dogs, about Cash's tail prior to going down there?
Prior to going down there?
A lot
I
of
don't-
blinks.
Did
A
I have
lot
a
of
conversation with
blinks.
Paul about,
Yes, that you
Yes,
asked him about
yes.
Cash and
Did
some problem
you-
with his
did you
tail
not hear
prior to
the
going
question?
down there. Did you have any knowledge of that prior to going down there?
He's
I'm
thinking.
not sure. As
During
I
this
sit here
time, he's
today,
just
I don't
processing.
recall that, but
How do I lie? What do I say next?
I don't think so.
When you first arrived in the golf cart, where did you pull up to?
I pulled up right where Maggie was.
Which is where?
She was standing in a spot where she could see in between the chicken coop and the storage room of the,
Where she could see? How do you know where
Kennels.
she could see?
where the dogs were back up in those planted pines, behind the kennels, to the left of the chicken coop.
Huh?
And
The stare. Look at his stare.
what'd you do after that?
I went back to the house.
No, I mean, did you pulled up, you get out of the.
Yeah,
the,
hold on, bro.
golf cart?
Hold on a second. There's a lot going on. You don't go there for a second. Then I went back to the house. Hold on. There's a lot going on here. Let's talk about it.
When I pulled up, I stayed on the golf cart,
You stayed on the golf cart. How
Okay.
long did you stay on the golf cart?
however long I was down there.
Oh, that's a great answer. How long did you stay? However long it was.
No, I got off to take the
Very
chicken from Bubba.
specific.
How long were you down there before you took the chicken off?
Very short time.
Like what?
And I got out of there. He's annoyed that you're asking him these questions.
Couple-
Like, very annoyed.
Couple minutes.
And what were you doing during the couple of minutes before you got over there to do
And
it?
he just did a big swallow. And he licked his lips again. And he's not happy as a, let's say he's a psychopath, right? As a psychopath, he would not be happy that he's being confronted with these uncomfortable facts. How dare you, right? How dare you? And in this question, he takes a deep swallow. And again, he moves his lips and his tongue, which is a sign of producing saliva, which we do when we are stressed.
With Bubba.
Talking to Max.
All right. And what did y'all talk about?
Yeah, what did you talk about? Last time you ever saw her, last time you ever saw the wife that you love so much, what did you talk about? Should be in your mind forever and ever on a loop.
You don't remember?
No, sir. I do know that Maggie was very concerned about Paw, and
Lots of eye movement, like to the right, to the left. A lot of times when we are trying to create or remember, right? When we remember something emotional, we look down to the right. When we're trying to like find something or like remember like a more factual thing, we might look up. Now his eyes are like searching, almost like he's searching for what he's going to say next. And now I think he's gonna try to become
A
emotional,
lot of detail about
He's gonna
all
be
these
red.
transactions. You don't remember what you talked about?
maybe. And if he does become red and emotional, let's just try to watch if he's gonna become white again, because now he's a little pink. Let's see what happens.
I don't remember the exact details of what we talked about. I believe that at that time, we may have talked about Paw.
He says
But I'm
Pawpaw
not
and
certain.
stares at Creighton.
Were you withdrawing at this time?
At this time, no, sir.
You weren't withdrawing at all.
No. I mean,
Don't
I
keep
would only
talking.
withdraw when I didn't have bills.
And you're saying you had pills?
Yes.
Yes. He had
Down
a
there for a couple minutes, I
pocket
think you
full
said
of
now,
pills.
before you get off the golf cart?
About, yes, sir.
All right. And where do you go at that point?
I take the chicken from Bubba.
I thought he didn't get
get
out
up?
of the golf cart.
Well, I mean, Bubba's come out there with this chicken. I mean, he's showing us, hey, I caught this chicken. And I take the chicken from Bubba.
Bubba came up to the golf cart.
He came up by the golf cart. He came up to Maggie and I, which I was on the golf cart. She's by the golf cart. I mean, he's not coming to the golf cart, but he's coming to us.
Is this during the kennel video or is this after the kennel video?
I mean, I guess it could be, but he is saying in the video, like, Baba, come here, Baba, something like that. So I don't think Baba went to him to say, hey, here's the chicken I caught. Maybe Baba is like passing by, showing how proud he is that he got the chicken. But Alex is definitely calling Baba, not like Bubba's here. Like he's calling Bubba.
Well, no, you hear Maggie say he's got a chicken.
Okay.
That's what she's talking about is
zucchini.
Bubba caught a chicken.
All right. All right. So is the kennel video still going on before you go get the chicken? I mean, you've heard
He
it.
doesn't
correct?
know the
Over
video
in this
is
courtroom.
going
I
on.
don't know exactly. I don't know exactly, but in close timing to Bubba coming out of those woods with the chicken, I got up and took the chicken from him.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Were the dogs barking and carrying on or going out into the woods or acting like they sensed somebody was around that they didn't know?
Watch this.
Were the dogs acting like there was somebody around that they didn't know?
Yeah, like dogs do.
No.
No, they weren't.
There was nobody.
There was nobody. How do you know? Because the other story, right, to defend you would be somebody was after Paul because of the boat accident. Maybe they were hiding in the property. waiting for you to leave, and then they shot Maggie and Paul and they left. They could have left in a boat or something. But he just is so sure. He's like, there was nobody there. It's a 16-acre property, right? Why are you so sure?
Around it, the dogs didn't know.
Okay.
The dogs
Dogs
know
didn't-
everybody.
Didn't, to your indication, sense anything out of the ordinary? They were just chasing after the guinea.
There was nobody else around
All right, good.
for them
Creighton's so happy about that
to
answer.
sense.
There was nobody for them to sense.
You've heard the kennel video. Would you agree with me that it lasts for about 50 seconds?
I agree with that.
So it would have ended around 8:45 and 45 seconds. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Did you have the chicken out of Bubba's mouth at the end of the kennel video, or did it take longer than that?
You know, I can't remember exactly when in the video he came up with the chicken, but I would have had the chicken out of his mouth within 10, 15 seconds of Maggie saying he's got a chicken.
All right. And so then what did you do?
I put the chicken up.
All right. How long did that take? Did you get out of the golf cart to do that?
I did.
All right. And you had to go walk to where it was?
Well, yeah, I mean, a few feet, but I did that, yes.
All right. So how long did that take? I mean, we're at 8:46 now. How long did that take?
Seconds.
Just seconds?
Seconds, of course. Otherwise,
after
I'm in
that?
trouble here.
Got back on the golf cart.
And get out of there. Got out.
And what'd you
His
do after
blink
that?
rate is through the
I
roof.
left.
You
I
left.
left.
Now, did I
Jumped
leave?
on the golf cart and left.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Did I get on the golf cart and leave that second? Probably not. But did I get on the golf cart and leave very quickly after that? I did.
Okay. Yeah. I think you testified yesterday.
Jim's
I got
looking-
out of there.
Jim's looking down like I think Jim is starting to question, if his supposedly friend is capable of doing that, and we really don't know. And Creighton, stop screaming at our ears, please. We really don't know what people are capable of, right? Like I was looking at Carla's comments here. Carla saying, I bought the book Without Conscience by Dr. Ayer years ago. It was an abusive relationship. Me too. That's how, in my case, it was emotional abuse, right? That's how I stumbled into this book called Psychopath Free by Jackson McKenzie, because I was always so confused. I was like, how is this person who was so charming, who was so nice, who was so caring and always like gave me all the compliments and was so nice to me and was always eager to see me, how is this person making me feel so confused all the time? And how am I always questioning myself where I stand with this person, or if my feelings are normal? Why am I always uncertain? Why do I always feel drained? And one day, I think it was like an answer to a prayer, because I was praying about it and I just was blind. I couldn't see. And one day the word narcissist came to my head out of nowhere. And I found this book called Psychopath Free. And then I found a whole new world, a whole new language. And I found that these people walk among us, and not all of them are criminals who are in prison for murdering people. Not all psychopaths are like that. A lot of people have personality disorders. They lack empathy. They are unable to feel the way we feel. They mimic our emotions. They have pleasure in watching people not necessarily, I wouldn't say suffer only, but they like to get a reaction out of the person, and they don't experience the emotions themselves. So they like to watch us and mimic us and produce that. So for them, it's really hard to understand how you feel, because they can't put themselves in your shoes. And for me, it was a really hard lesson. And when it happened, and after I read this book, I thought I would never get over it. And this book says in the beginning, like a year, 2 years from now, you will find yourself in such a great position, in such a great place, because you will have an understanding that most people don't have. And I was in so much pain going through that I thought, that's never going to happen. I'm such a loser for falling into this trap and being with somebody like this. But God is good. And, the book told me, and it's exactly what happened. I blocked all contact with that person, and I learned how to really, after, time, a lot of meditation, a lot of self-care, I learned how to distance myself totally from that person. And the best lesson yet, to spot toxic people nowadays. And that's why, for me, when I started watching this trial, the whole demeanor, the whole thing, and when Alex took the stand, I was in awe, because at the same time, I'm fascinated by the topic, psychopathy, psychology in general. So watching Alex and his body language, his mannerisms, just what his eyes are saying, and like the challenges, like how he's a manipulator, he's constantly lying, and he's constantly talking in circles. I was like, I think this guy may be a psychopath. And that was even before the verdict. And, it's very sad that there are people like that among us that are capable of violent crimes, because there are people like that don't have that don't have the empathy, and that they are just functioning narcissistic people with personality disorders around. Fine, just don't bother me. But the ones that go through to the end, and that feed their evil ways to the point that they commit crimes like this, those are the ones that should go to prison, and they should be away from society. Now, watching this trial, I think that one of the characteristics that also leads me to believe that Alex is a psychopath is his need for control, his need for taking the stand, and his need to control the conversation, even though the cards are so bad for him. Like, he can't see what we can see. When he speaks, how he comes off, right? Even Jim, his attorney, his body language constantly, every time I pause the video, Jim is like either in disbelief or frustrated or just sad. And Alex's body languages are always like this when I pause. It's like evil, or the stare, and it's sad to see. The blank,
Why'd you get out of
no
there so quick,
emotion.
Mr. Murdaugh?
Because it was chaotic, it was hot, and I was getting ready to do exactly what I didn't want to do.
You're getting ready to do what you didn't want to do.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to sweat. I was getting ready to work. I went back to the air conditioner.
Very true, Carla.
So did you say goodbye, according to your new story?
Did I say goodbye?
Yeah. Did you talk to them at all, or did you just get the chicken, put it on there, jump on there?
Now he's even smirking here. Did I say goodbye? How are you smirking? I don't get it. This is where, like, any compassion that I have for you is like gone, because he is smirking. His face, look, smile, right? Did I say goodbye? Like, it's not a funny thing. It's not like a challenge between me and you. Look at Jim's face. Jim's face is the appropriate face, right? Sadness, concern, disappointment. Now, Alex's face is the face of a psychopath, honestly, because Creighton is questioning him about the last time he saw his wife and son alive. Did you say goodbye to them? What did you say to them? before you left. And the guy's just, did I say goodbye? What do you mean? Not funny.
Fair, just
Oh,
take
no,
off.
I wouldn't have just gone off. I mean, I would have said,
I
I'm
wouldn't
leaving.
have.
Okay.
Did I say goodbye or bye?
Look,
And again,
smiling.
Go ahead.
I mean, there would have been some, there would have been some exchange.
It's not funny.
I'm not staying here.
Well, what was that exchange? I mean,
There would have been, not that there was, there would have been, right? If I was there, if this story was true, if I said bye to them there would have been a goodbye. And I don't understand why the heck he's smiling.
you've had such a photographic memory about these news stories.
Exactly.
What
Look at
what happened
Jim's
here?
face, so disappointed.
It's not, I can't tell you the exact words.
You don't remember your conversation after you put that chicken up. Did y'all talk about the chicken?
No, I don't think we did.
Did you talk with Paul about Cash's tail?
After the chicken?
Yeah.
No, I know I didn't do that.
Did you tell Maggie I'm going to go check?
You got the blink rate through the roof. You got him doing the mouth adapters again. You got him, itching his face now. Does his face really itch? Is there something on his face? Or is that just a way to relieve the stress? Now, I don't understand why at this point you wouldn't be bawling, like really, really crying, right? I lost my mom about 4 years ago. And when I talk about the last thing that we talked, I almost cry all the time. And most of the times I cry. I just don't allow myself to talk about it too deeply because it just kills me to think about the last times. Even though it was good, it was not bad. She said how proud she was of me, and she had asked me to take her somewhere, and I said I couldn't because I was doing something else, and that kills me to this day. Now I'm gonna stop talking about it, but this guy, he's talking about something more recent, and look at his facial expression. Is that of somebody who is being analytical and he's just trying to come up with an answer? The emotion is not there. I know he's going to cry or there's going to be stuff coming out of his nose, but up to this point, Creighton has already touched on this so many times. Like, what was the last thing you said to your wife? And it doesn't faze him.
Check on him?
At that point, no, I don't
Did you
think
tell
I did.
Maggie, it's hot out here. Think I'll go back?
I certainly would have said something to that effect.
All right. So, unlike everything else with the news story, you just can't recall what that would have been.
Well, I mean, you're making that categorization. I think there's other things about that I can't remember. But if the question is, can I remember exactly what words I used when I gave Maggie some
Jim is looking
salutation when I'm leaving? I
Look,
can't tell you what
smiling
those
again.
were.
Smiling again. Some salutation when I'm leaving. Look at Jim's face. Defeated. Just defeated, right? Because Jim is watching someone who he thought was a friend, right? I'm going to read this real quick. Let me just see if I can find it. Hold on. Okay, here you go. This is what I think. No, that's not it. The mask. I want to see about the mask. Something about. Okay, right here, number 21. Cracks in their mask. There are fleeting moments when their charming, cute, innocent persona is replaced by something else entirely. You see a side to them that never came out during the idealization phase, and it is a side that is cold, inconsiderate, and manipulative. Sorry about my pronunciation. You start to notice that their personality just doesn't add up, that the person, in this case, the book says you fell in love with, doesn't actually seem to exist. This, to me, is what I see in Jim's face right now, right here. Because as Alex talks, Jim seems so disappointed that he seems like he's watching the cracks come come off of Alex's face. And Alex, as he's talking about this, he either smiles when he talks about, oh, I don't know what type of salutation I gave them when I left. But it's not a funny thing. You're talking about the last time you saw your wife and your son who were murdered. So it really seems like the mask is falling in front of Jim's eyes. And Jim, who knew Maggie, who knew Paul, he's just looking at him like, holy crap. Maybe, possibly, probably. Right?
But it would have been something to the effect of, I'm leaving.
All right. Okay. But you would concede that there was at least some conversation, that you wouldn't have just put the chicken on there and ran back to the golf cart and taken off. Correct?
Without talking to Maggie, I would have never done that.
All right. All right. So let's, you want to say a minute? Does that sound about right?
A minute for what?
To have just whatever interaction it took for you to then, according to your new story, drop back to.
No, sir. It wouldn't have taken me a minute. It would
Not
have
a minute.
been, it would have been, I'm
Don't
leaving.
smile. It's not
I'll
funny.
see you in a minute.
It's not funny.
Okay. So 30 seconds.
I don't think it would have taken 30 seconds, but I mean, I'm fine with you using whatever time you want to apply. But I don't
I'm
think
just
it would have
asking
taken that
about
long.
real life here and how people interact with one another, Mr. Murdaugh.
Yeah. Real
I mean,
people.
So what you're telling this jury, I call you're fuzzy on these kind of details, is that you jetted down there, you dealt with the chicken and jetted right back.
No, sir. No, sir. I didn't jet down there and I didn't jet back. I got up after Maggie asked me to leave, after Maggie asked me to go with her, and I didn't. I got up. I went and got on a golf cart. I drove down there. I did what I did. I said
did
I'm
what I
leaving or
did.
something to those words, and I went back.
All right. Well, if it's about 8:40,
I did what I did, huh? Now, Creighton is trying to explain to him, like, what did you say? You know, I'm just trying to ask you, like, things that normal interactions. And here's another point from the book, Psychopath Free. You find yourself explaining the basic elements of human respect to a full-grown man or woman. Normal people understand fundamental concepts like honesty and kindness. Psychopaths often appear to be childlike and innocent, but don't let this mask fool you. No adult should need to be told how he or she is making other people feel. And this is another thing. Creighton is asking him about the last time he saw Maggie and Paul, right? And he keeps going on circles. Oh, what do you mean? When I did this? Oh, when I did this? It's like the whole word salad, the whole gaslighting, right? The whole manipulation that they do. And then Creighton's saying, you know, I'm talking about like normal, like human interactions. Like, this is your family. You know, and Creighton is like explaining to this guy what this means. And look at Jim's face again. Jim is just looking down and looking so disappointed and looking so defeated. And Alex is like in the same regular challenge as if they were playing chess in a friendly game. And Alex is defying Creighton and Creighton is defying Alex. It doesn't feel like we're talking about the son and the wife.
46. If the kennel video ends at 8:45 and 45 seconds, and it's about 8:46, we at least concede that maybe it was about a minute before you got on that golf cart and headed back. Just reasonable real life.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was that long, but maybe, sure.
All right. So,
But I don't think it was that long. I mean,
all right, well, how long do you
exactly
think
what
it
I
was?
thought was going to be going on
Not funny.
at that kennel, why I didn't want to go there to begin with, is exactly what was going on.
Yeah. Well,
It's not funny. How awful, right? How awful. Exactly. There's no remorse. There's no remorse. Not even like if he didn't do it. It was the last time I saw them. Why would you say exactly what I thought was going on was going on. I don't understand that. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did. You know, initially I didn't even want to go. I'm so glad because that was the last time I saw my family.
And I left.
Are these also convenient facts?
He just did it again. He's smiling. Then he said, and I laughed. Tongue and then heavy swallow. Right? So those two are signs of lying and being uncomfortable. So right when he said, and then I laughed. Like that.
In your new story that have to fit with the timeline now that that evidence has been thrown in your face?
No, sir.
Does that sound like real life to you, that you jet down there and jet back, Mr. Murdaugh?
Mr. Waters, as I just told you, I didn't get on my golf cart and jet down there. I didn't jet back.
The reason why you have to be so fuzzy about these details.
Mr. Waters, hang on.
Just answer before another question presented.
Hang on, Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, hang on. That's that passive aggressive thing, right? He's trying to be charming, but I think his charm ran off a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Just a
answering your
moment.
question.
Just a moment.
Just a moment.
Are you responding to the last question?
Yes, sir. I'm responding to your question, and you're using words that I'm not using. And that's your
Do you agree
categorization.
I'm entitled to ask my questions to you, sir?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
And I'm going to answer them. All I'm saying is I'm taking issue with the manner in which you're changing what I'm saying.
So you
And
disagree this is a new story? You disagree with that characterization?
yes, this is the first time that this is being told openly.
And you disagree to my characterization that you've got a photographic memory about the details that have to fit now that you know these facts, but you're fuzzy on the other stuff that complicates that. You disagree with that?
I do disagree with that. I think that I think that I have a good memory about a lot of things. On
I
this.
think that
We got him on the
lying.
video ending at 8:45:45. So just to take care of the chicken, put it up. I was going to say 8:47, but somewhere around there. I think you said somewhere around there. Is that fair? Just to do whatever you need to do and get on that cart before you head back
I did what I
The kennel
did.
video ended at 8:45,
in 45 seconds.
8:46.
He's like, okay, let me
It
see what I
certainly
have
could
to
have been
say here.
8:47 before I left out of there.
Okay.
I think it was sooner than that, but it could have been.
That's
So you were
60
there for like
seconds.
60 seconds,
75 seconds, correct?
75
After
seconds.
it ends.
If it ends at 8:45 and 45 seconds, it's a minute and
Gosh,
15 seconds.
You characterized it yesterday as I got out of there, right?
I was out
That
of
is
there.
exactly what I did.
So if we're at 8:47, I think you said,
Again, the lips.
giving you the benefit of the doubt, it's 2 minutes to get up back to the house, correct?
Approximately.
All right. And when you got back to the house, where'd you park the golf cart?
Same place I'd gotten it from, right where Mark Ball testified that it was.
All right. And what door did you go in?
I would have gone in the front door.
I would have. Not I did.
And if you left around
Keep following
8:47,
him with the eyes. Predator
about 2
stare.
minutes to get up to the house, what time would that make it, Mr. Murdaugh?
If I left at 8:47.
If I did.
And if it took me 2 minutes.
And if
that
it
would
did.
Make it 8:49.
That would.
8:49.
But that never happened, right? Apparently. If I did. If it did. Then it would.
And you testified you went inside and the TV's on, right?
I did go inside and the TV was on.
Okay.
There you go. That's how you
And-
answer.
You laid down. Is that right?
I did.
Before you
Took a
said
nap.
you'd been napping for an hour or so, or napping that entire time, but now you laid down on the couch.
That's correct.
All right. And maybe dozed for a second,
Maybe.
according to your new story.
Maybe. Nothing is for sure.
How long did you doze?
Even Dick was
if,
like-
if I dozed, extremely short time.
Extremely short time? Because you would agree with me that at 9:02, you're up and moving, according
Ooh.
to the data.
I agree that according to that data, my phone's recording steps at whatever time it is now.
That's a very, very disingenuous. Look at Jim. Jim is like, because, what kind of answer is that? Were you moving? Well, according to the data, my phone was recording steps. Argumentative about everything.
How long did it take you, if you're at the house at 8:49, how long before you went and laid on the couch?
I know,
I would have
Carla,
gone
very
straight to the
annoyed.
couch, probably. I may have gone.
Watching this again is like pissing me off
by the
again.
sink, or I may have gotten a spit cup.
Stop smiling.
But
It's not funny, ass. Okay, I almost
it
said
would have
something.
been basically straight to the couch.
He's like,
Straight to the couch.
Yes, sir.
And you're telling this jury that that's what happened, and you were back at the house at 8:49, and you lay down on the couch and dozed for a second, and then you were
Jim is so disappointed.
more steps in a shorter time period than you had done all day.
Well, I mean, your number is 8:49. What I'm telling this jury is that I went down there, and when I took that chicken from Bubba, I would have said something to Max.
I would
got
have.
back on that golf cart, and I drove back to my house. After getting back to my house, I went inside, and in short order, I went to the couch. That's what I'm
Jim's like,
telling this jury.
Did you go anywhere
The head
else
is
in the
just
house?
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you specifically about that. I don't think so, but I may have.
Did you have that tan blackout and a 12-gauge shotgun on that golf cart when you drove down there?
No,
You didn't?
no,
Did you see them when you were down there?
no.
No. So we got you back around 8:49 and you're leaving at 9:02, correct? And you didn't see any weapons down there.
so what do we think about that? No. What do you think about that? No. I know. I know. I almost did. I almost called him a A. What did we think about that? No, Carla, because I don't know. He seems like very straight faced when he says that. Did you have any guns? No. Did you do that? No. I don't know if those are the answers he practiced the most, but I don't know.
You just happened to be back there. You didn't hear anything at all. Did you hear anything at all, Mr. Murdaugh, during that time period?
No, I did not.
You didn't? Didn't you tell law enforcement that you thought you heard them pull up? Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
I did think they had pulled up.
All right. So that was that. You did think that?
Yes.
All right. So now you're saying there was a car pulling up?
No,
You didn't testify to that yesterday, did you, in your new version of events that
no, I don't,
construct?
Mr. Waters, I don't believe there was a car pulling up.
Okay. But that's what you told law enforcement, didn't you?
No, I told law enforcement that I thought they had pulled up.
All right. But you're saying you couldn't hear blackout shots supposedly, but you could hear that, correct?
I didn't say I couldn't hear blackout shots, but I'm saying that I thought when I got up from taking a nap, if I took a nap, but when
If
I got
I
up
took
from
a
laying
nap.
down,
If
as I
I
was
got up
getting
from laying
ready
down,
to go
if I
to
got
my
ready,
mom's,
if
there
I
was
went
a
to my
point in
mom's,
time where I thought Maggie and Paul had come back.
You also told them that you thought you heard a wildcat, but maybe it was a person or something like that as well.
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say then?
I said when I went outside that
true.
there's a house cat that's gone wild, and he hangs around.
It's
He
not a
goes from
wild
hanging
cat.
around the
It's
shop,
a
he goes
house
from
cat
hanging
that
around the
has
house
gone
different
wild.
times. You might, and there'd be times you don't see him, and he had been around the house. And when I went outside, I believe that cat was over there.
Okay. And you made a point of mentioning
I
that
never-
to law enforcement.
I never thought it was a person.
All right. But you made a point of mentioning that to law enforcement, correct?
In the course of discussing it, I did tell them that.
But you never told them all this new story that you've constructed in light of this trial. Is that correct?
I did not tell them that I went to the kennel. I lied about that.
And at the same time, you also looked at this jury and tried to tell them that you had been cooperative in this investigation.
Other than lying to them about going to the kennel, I was cooperative in every aspect of this investigation.
Very cooperative, except for maybe the most important fact of all, that you were at the murder scene with the victims just minutes before they died. Right?
I did not tell them that I went to the kennel.
We'll take a break at this time for about 15 minutes, talking to the jury. Please go to the jury room. Please not discuss the case.
Ay, ay, ay. Let's see how much longer we have here. 143. Because I might actually come back to finish this tomorrow. Finish the cross-examination tomorrow. Cats, dogs, chicken, hogs. And now we have a wild cat. We have a wild cat, Carla. It's not a wild cat. It's a cat that is a home cat, but has gone wild. You know, that's what it is. So you got to keep up with the stories in this trial. You got to keep up with Alex and his stories. So again, I've been referencing this book. It's called Psychopath Free. It's a very great book for me. Sorry. I thought I was sharing this. Has helped me a lot with learning about toxic people and red flags. And it's very, very, very good. Pathological lying, excuses, explaining basic elements of human respect to full-grown people, selfishness, they drain energy from you. You find yourself playing detective. They have people that they use for resources, money, and attention. They have shallow praise towards other people. Even Alex, when he was talking to Creighton, we're the same age, but you look much better. And then an unusual number of ex-friends or crazy people in their past. In this case, for Alex, he has an unusual number of dead people in his past. Cracks in their masks that we talked about. Arrogance, despite the humble, sweet image they present in the early stages, you start to notice an unmistakable air of superiority about them, and much, much, much more. Then we also talked about psychopathy not being in the DSM, that psychopathy most of the time is the closest one in the DSM would be the antisocial personality disorder, right? So then what we have here for psychopathy is pretty much based on books, not the DSM, but just what we can find and the resources that are out there for this type of behavior. So if you haven't done yet, please subscribe, because once in a while I am doing these long form videos, and I really appreciate your support. I'm starting with this, and it's something that I think it's fun and interesting. So if there are other people that are interested, I would love to do more of these. I will finish this cross-examination. I have a video that is like 4 hours long from the first day of the cross. Then I will finish this cross-examination. We'll probably do the video tomorrow around 6 p.m. as well, Eastern Standard Time. But I will make the upcoming thing soon, and then I'll put it on YouTube. So if you subscribe or if you put an alert, you'll see tomorrow. And if I change the time, I'll change it on YouTube so you see what time it is. But I'll shoot for 6 p.m. tomorrow so we can finish this together. And hopefully we can all detox from Alex Murdaugh, because it's so heavy. Such a heavy topic, but I'm really not trying to focus on him per se as a person, but really the psychopathy and the interesting body language behind it, so that we can all be aware of that type of people that sometimes they're walking amongst us, unfortunately. So thank you so much, and nice meeting you, Carla. Nice meeting. There was another girl making comments here, Katho or Kathy, her name. I don't know if she left, but sometimes we have more people viewing these videos after the fact, but it's great to have you guys live. And nice to meet you. And I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. And anybody who watches this later, have a great night. Oh, and to end on a great note, let me give you some goodness to look at before. Come here. Before we finish, this is goodness. It's Whisper. He was sleeping as we were doing this. So after all this psychopathy talk, this guy is really a lot of love. So have a great night. See you next time. God bless.